everything is Blap. The kick gon' knock, the snare gon' crack, and everything is Blap. Everything is Blap. Everything is Blap.
Blap.
New York, Blap.
Atlas, do that sound again? That's Mundo Beats.
Mundo, baby.
How you guys feeling?
Hi, everybody.
Give yourselves a round of applause, man. Pull it up. Be here. Be here, man. I just want
to Preach too for holding it down.
clap it up for Preach one time with the DJ set.
That sound loud. That sound loud.
Preach with the fire set. Hold on, I gotta give him his just due right here. That set was crazy, man. Pulled some shit. People don't play Bound by Kanye.
Are people playing Kanye at all?
No, that's no shot.
That was a real question. That's a real big question.
Raise your hand if you still fuck with Kanye.
No shots. No shots.
That's right. That's right. Be fuck with Kanye.
Musically. No, I'm kidding.
No. We love Kanye.
I love Kanye. We love Kanye. Has great ideas. His political views is just. I think that he just needs to get back to the music. That's it. That's all we want, right? Like anyway, it's like.
Yeah, I think he is though. I think he recently put a statement out where he was like, these people are trying to manipulate me. Like I'm just gonna fucking get back to the music.
Really? Where did you How are they manipulating?
We turn the mic up.
Yeah, I'm like.
Yeah, but we love Kanye here. Shout to you guys. This is officially this is a real episode. This is a real episode. What episode are we on, Josh? Josh doesn't fucking know. I want to ask you guys a question, and be honest.
It's not 90.
Raise your hand if you listen or watch the podcast. Everybody, couple haters over here. I see y'all. You know what I mean? I'm a +1. I can't with my boy. You know what I mean? Looking around like I heard y'all had some fruit and vegetables, so I want to come through. Now, shout to you guys, man. For those of you who don't know, welcome to BlapChat. You know, this is an all music production podcast. I'm gonna let my co-hosts introduce themselves. I go by the name of Illmind, and we have my guys here.
My guys?
Here. My girls.
Ladies
guys.
first.
Perfection.
Clap it up for Perfection.
Alright. Good lyrics and music. What's up, New York?
Clap it up for Glam.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Tommy. No, I'm just kidding. Yo, Atlas the Plug. Pleasure to meet you guys.
Clap it up for Atlas the Plug.
Alex has a couple aliases.
That's true.
So, let's see. Raise your hand if you're a music producer. Let's start there. A lot of you fucking beat makers and producers.
Damn.
Raise your hand if you use.
count?
I tried.
Raise your hand if you use Fruity Loops. Don't be shy. It's okay.
The cheat code.
All welcome here. All dogs are welcome.
The cheat code.
How many people use Logic?
Really a cheat code?
Team Logic? How many of you motherfuckers making beats in Pro Tools? Reason?
Hey!
Couple reasons.
Stay that way. Don't ever change, okay?
Machine? Anyone machine? That's what's up. Alright, how many people use an Ableton? Good job, guys. Fucking cheaters. That fucking pitch. No, all that bullshit, man. No, listen, let me tell you something. Ableton's bullshit because you basically, it makes the beat for you.
That's not true. But I think, what do you think's easier, FL or Ableton?
I'm low key kidding. But what I will say is that Ableton, there's so much you can do in Ableton.
Yeah.
That like the pitch correct is really great, but there's a lot of cheat code stuff too. Like I heard there's a new feature, and you Ableton users co-sign this if I'm wrong or correct, but I believe you could randomize a chord progression in Ableton now. Right? Yeah?
I think
that's pretty fire. Yeah, so you literally can click the mouse and then it'll generate a chord progression for you in MIDI. Yeah, so that deserves this.
Why not? I know in Logic if you have chord progression.
I haven't got into it yet. Thank you. I haven't got into it yet, so I mean, that's all I have to say. Thanks for giving me the mic.
Yeah, you know, I'm a good mic passer.
Yeah.
But me and Glam were in the studio the other day, and she was fucking with Logic.
I mix. Okay, so my thing is I make beats in Reason and I mix in Logic. So that's been a new thing, just because my computer's fucked up. Because everybody's like, oh, why don't you just get into Fruity Loops or Ableton? I can't because I have an old computer. It only accepts a certain version of DAW, all right?
I'm not mad at
so
you.
unless you're going to chip in and help me out, you know what I'm saying? You just let me just make my
quick pay,
music.
Venmo.
If it's broke, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's simple for me. I like it. For me, Ableton, I've got on it, but it looks like math a little bit to me, like a little confusing. I like how simple and Logic looks like. Oh, you want to make a beat? Like it looks that easy. I like that shit.
Yeah, I think Reason. Every time I look at Reason, I'm like, no, thank you. What is
First of all, I think Ableton looks trash. I really do. No,
It looks like a video
Ableton looks like a toy.
It looks like a video game.
Ableton looks like a fucking video.
Oh yeah.
Pro Tools looks dope to me. I'm sorry. Pro Tools looks dope.
I agree.
Logic looks like PC, basically. Like it looks
like Microsoft.
it looks like Microsoft.
No, it doesn't.
It's good to. I mean, when you're starting off and you're used to like GarageBand, you look at that, it's like all right.
It looks like
Come on.
Right.
really just a lot nicer in blue.
I know. Honestly, I would say for like songwriters, if you're just coming up with like melodies and ideas, Logic, because if you're not really being a producer, you're not using Pro Tools and doing that. If you're just doing vocals and coming up with melodies and just recording that, and then you send it off, to the producer
That's true.
to lay down something. I mean, something easy to just lay down vocals. I mean, that's
Yeah, but you can track vocals in pretty much every
Everything.
DAW.
Yeah.
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 No,
but I do
what I'm
know
saying
a lot
is-
of like female artists and things like that use Logic for that specifically.
No, that's just for that. That's
Like
all
they'll
I'm talking.
lay down
As
a
far
chord
as
and some
producing, me personally, I would use like Pro Tools or Ableton. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. But if you're laying down vocals, as a songwriter, me singing the R&B group back in the day.
Let me find out Atlas be
know,
producing up
right.
below and shit.
Mundo's out here. Mundo.
Raise your hand if you're a female producer.
If you can see my hand.
Yeah, she gotta come to the
Shout to you guys.
There's like seven.
Shout out to my female producers. Give yourself a round of applause. Round of applause for all the female producers. I think that we definitely need more of that, and it's so unfair to even for that to even be a label, like, oh, you're female and you're a producer. Like, a producer is a producer.
It's just using a computer and knowing music.
Yeah.
Gear.
Yeah, exactly. I was just in Toronto, and I had the honor of judging the Battle of the Beatmakers competition out there. And the winner of the competition, raise your hand if you've heard of this competition before, Battle of the Beatmakers. It's it's a beat battle in Toronto where Boy Wonder kind of got his start. You guys familiar with Boy Wonder? Yeah. So he got his start. He entered the battle and won like 3 years in a row, years ago, like before Drake blew up and stuff. And anyway, so it's like a highly respected beat battle. And this year's winner was this producer named Lucy, and she's 16 years old, and she fucking killed everybody. Like, literally, I think there were over 1,000 producers that entered the battle, and then they broke it down to 60, and then 30, and then the final 24, I think, and she won.
And this was in Toronto, right?
Yeah, and this was in Toronto, and she is fired.
I just feel like Toronto's different.
Right, yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like the
Wonder Girls
music that
Toronto
comes
too,
out of
right?
there,
Yeah.
Wonder
the
Girls
music
Toronto.
that comes out of there, the producers, and I like the fact that they stick together.
Right.
Like we always talk
Right.
about this on the show. Boy Wonder has been like really instrumental in a lot of producers, careers, and they're very big on the beat battles up there too. That's how Wonder Girl got her start.
Yeah.
She started producing at 9.
9
Like, what were you guys doing at 9? I was being a
We
kid.
had that conversation.
I was being a kid.
My thing is, it doesn't surprise. I don't know about y'all. It doesn't surprise me much anymore that how young they are because
Yeah,
of
no.
the technology and what we're able to do
The
now.
internet.
And we were just talking about the power of the internet, and then also like we were talking about like what were we doing when I was 20. I definitely was not doing what they're doing right now.
Right.
Like, mainly because I mean maybe we didn't know, but it's like I wasn't even thinking about, like I knew I wanted to make beats and stuff, but it didn't come till like later on. So to hear like, oh yeah, he made this beat, he's like 14, it's like, oh yeah.
That's
It
crazy.
does this stuff like it happens more and
But
more.
9 years old is extreme. Like,
Extreme.
She made a beat at
what
3
grade? What
months.
grade are you in when you're 9? 5th grade? 4th grade?
4th grade?
You can't-
Imagine.
You can't make beats when you're in 4th
Like-
grade, man.
No, I made a beat for Drake.
I'm pretty sure when I was 9, I shit in my pants.
I definitely wasn't doing that, but
I did.
I'd say I was like, yeah, that was, what was that?
That's a weird flex, but I'm proud of that shit.
Right.
I'm proud.
That's what I was doing.
I'm proud of that shit. Literally.
You're definitely gonna do
But it
that.
definitely is the internet, though. You know, like YouTube.
Yep.
Everything's online.
Yeah.
So it's, you know,
Easily
it's easy
accessible.
access. You know, such and such type beat. That's all on the internet. So it's super easy to kind of recreate. And
Right.
once you
Yeah.
start,
And I've
keep
seen
going.
people with like, I've seen people just operate straight from their, like, you guys ever like operate straight from your keypad?
Yeah.
Like, I've seen that too. I was like, I can't.
Yeah,
do
raise
that.
your hand if you.
I'm not gonna do that.
Raise your hand if you use
Difficult.
like keys on your
Literally,
actual
I do that
keyboard.
a lot.
laptop.
I've done it maybe once or twice.
Raise your hand if you fuck with Blap kits though. If you don't, that's okay. All right, you guys again, all good. I see you guys, all good. You guys probably don't even know my name. You're probably like, who are these guys? Is that Jeff Staple? Manny Pacquiao? Chad Hugo, just famous Asian people? That's me. This is, I don't know what Atlas would be, I don't know. But, anyway, what was I saying? Oh, Blap Kids. Yeah, so I remember I put out this video recently, today actually, on my YouTube channel, and someone asked me a question. They said, what are the top 3 things you would recommend for an upcoming music producer to just get their foot in the door and start, right? And I paused for a second, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, what are the top 3 things that I did and that have helped me the most, right? And I chose 3 things. And so the first thing that was on my list was basically which is step number 1, is to collect as many sounds as possible, right? Back like before, you know, DAWs, and it was like beat machines and stuff, which was kind of like before my time too, but it was really hard to get sounds. You know, people were like going record shopping, and you know, if someone wanted to lay down like a string section, they would have to hire, you know, musicians and rent a studio space, and it would cost thousands of dollars. Nowadays, you just download fucking LA scoring strings, and you have a full orchestra, right? And I think us in this generation, like, we don't appreciate that shit. Like, we just think, oh, it's just a fucking download, and we can make shit sound like this. Like, I think we're getting spoiled when it comes to that. So anyway, outside of that, the idea of collecting sounds is a huge deal. I think if you're not collecting as many sounds as possible, you're doing yourself a disservice. So to me, step number 1 is collect as many VSTs, drum kits. Every single one of you guys in here should have Omnisphere, Contact, Complete if you want, but like all the basic shit, Nexus, like you should have everything, number 1. All the Blap kits you guys should have. I know some of you motherfuckers download that shit illegal, but you know, it is what it is. I'm gonna find out. You know what I'm saying? I got all you motherfuckers' home addresses.
IP address. Emails.
If you bought a motherfucking ticket, I got your motherfucking info.
That's funny.
Anyway, so
Is there such a thing as having too many drum kits though?
no.
No?
I basically have
Because I'm sure there are drum kits that you probably haven't looked at in a long time.
definitely not.
No?
No. I mean, I agree with you. I definitely haven't looked at. Yeah, I have so many. I have so much shit, guys.
It's better to have more though.
Yeah.
Always.
It's better to have more. So step number 1, collect as many sounds as possible. Step number 2, and this one is like a little bit weird. People were looking at me like, really? You know? But this is facts. Step number 2 is to mimic, right? So mimic what you love, right? And let me just give you a quick example. I want you guys to elaborate on this too, you two, Atlas. You know, I'll go back to Michael Jackson, right? There was this interview that I saw, and the interviewer asked Michael Jackson, like, what inspires you? Like, who inspires you? And he basically said James Brown. Like, James Brown inspires my dance moves, and when you kind of compare the two, it makes sense. You know, James Brown was on that, and he also influenced like MC Hammer and stuff like that. So I think every creative and everyone in this room, we're all creating, but we're influenced by something else, some type of other piece of art, right? No art is truly 1000% original. And so us as music producers, or if there's rappers in here, raise your hand if you're a rapper. You guys are like kids in a candy store right now. You got all the beats in this room.
Looking around like, oh, word, oh.
Couple motherfuckers in here selling beats for $9.99 and shit. Couple 99-cent beats in here.
99
You know what I'm
cents.
saying?
Who's selling beats?
Get them
Is there
deals.
anybody
No, we're gonna
selling
get into
beats?
that later.
About this?
We're gonna get into that shit in a minute, but
Yes.
so basically, like, long story short, you know, you want to collect as many sounds, and you want to mimic, right? So for me, when I first started making music, I was mimicking Jay Dilla. Raise your hand if you heard of a producer named Jay Dilla. Finally, you guys. And at least they heard of Dilla. So I was studying Jay Dilla. I also studied Manny Fresh and a lot of things, but I think you start off mimicking what you love, and then the longer you do that, you sort of become your own, and you put your own flavor to it without realizing, right? So that's step number 2. And then step number 3 is to try a bunch of different shit. Like, don't be afraid to try stuff. So like, if you've been making trap beats that sound like modern trap for the past 2 years, that's okay. Tomorrow, when you get into the studio, make a fucking house beat. If you've never made a 130 BPM 4 on the floor house beat before, I challenge you to do that tomorrow and try it. It's gonna sound like shit, right? It's gonna be trash. But try it, you know what I mean? And I think for me, a lot of, credit a lot of my success to just trying a bunch of stuff. That's why when you hear my stuff, you know, I'm doing soul stuff, and then some people know me for my boom bap shit. Some people know me for boom trap, and you know, I'm working with like Murder Beats and Boy Wonder, but then I also have tracks with like Sky Zoo and fucking Disney. You know, you're welcome with The Rock. Like, who does that, you know? But I think it's just always beneficial as a producer to just try stuff, put yourself out of your comfort zone, because you'll never know what you might be good at, you know? And I think having more of those skill sets is always going to be beneficial. What was it for you guys? Glam, I'll start with you. Like, what influences you, and how did that benefit you?
I think like my parents were MCs already, so that was like a strong influence. And then from there, my mom just always put me on a really good music. And then I think also being in a diverse school coming up, like I didn't go to a predominantly anything. Mm-hmm. I think that had a big play into it, because I had a whole bunch of types of, like, I had white friends, I had Mexican friends, I had Israeli friends. Mm-hmm. Like I knew everybody, and so we would trade music. Like, and my mom worked at labels at the time, so I was always really musically inclined before I knew I even wanted to do it. So slowly, like one by one, all of these other things started getting like woken up. So first it was like, okay, I like music, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, that's cool. Then I go to like middle school, and I realized I was choosing electives, and they were like, oh, percussions, and they were like, oh, those are drums. So I was like, I'm thinking like drum set, and we got there was a whole bunch of congas, and I was like, what the fuck is this? So then then it ended up being one of my favorite classes. Like it was like just a jam session.
So much fun, so much.
Yeah, my Mr. Miranda, he was Puerto Rican. Shout out to him.
Hey, Boricua.
Yeah, because he was a because look at this. It was him. It was him that was like, my mom came to pick me up from class one time, and he was like, you must be proud. And she was like, what the fuck is he talking about? So then we had this random performance at like the House of Blues, and she was like, we were all beating on drums, and just kids beating on drums, and she was like, oh shit, went and got me drums. So after that, I wanted to make beats. So all these things were like encouragement, but I was already open from a young age because of her. Already like, so it came from really just like my mom, I said, like just already put me up. So if you have somebody that like you just musically like look up to, or you guys vibe the same with like music that you like, that's always the best thing, because that'll be the influence.
Yeah.
I just like
always
good
the
shit.
parents,
I just like good shit. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like, I think when your family, your parents, or anyone in your family is musically involved and you're around it, somehow, some way, you kind of end up in that lane.
Well, it's funny, you know, I have a funny story. So when we were in the backstage before you guys got here, you know, we were taking a few flicks. So it was me and Perfection, and like she had the camera, she had my phone. She was like, do this, move this leg like this, tilt your head. And she like actually grabbed, tilt your head like this, tilt your head down, do this. So and she tells, so I find out, can I say it? Can I tell you the story?
Yeah.
Okay. So she was like, yeah, my dad was a photographer. So, you know, when I came up, he would like pose me the right way because he's professional and the pictures would come out great. And let me tell you, it worked.
Yeah, he wanted to take a picture. I'm like, all right, let me take the picture, but it gotta be fire.
Yeah.
Turn that way, but for me, you know, I have a lot of people in my family that were musicians. You know, my father particularly was in a band in the Dominican Republic for majority of my
Dominicans in here.
word, right?
Okay, let's not Puerto Rican, we're cousins.
Okay, my name is really Dominican. Okay, it's very Dominican. But so yeah, my father was in a band with his brothers and sisters. It was like 6 of them. You know, so I was always around that, and I always loved music. But it wasn't until I was a little older, you know, when I kind of hit college, where I really found that I had a passion for it. You know, like I dropped out of school because I was just like, I'm more of a creative. You know, so I think that really influenced me. And in high school and middle school, I did have music classes, but I never really took it serious, like, wow, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But I think the influence was there. It just had to come out of me in order for me to actually pursue it, you know. And
do you remember the time you said to your parents, like, when I grow up, I want to be a music producer, and then looking at you like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really specific with my family in that sense, because I was doing it more of like a hobby and like still working, and you know. But when I did tell my dad, he was like excited because he wanted me to stay in school, and I was just like, look, it's just not for me.
He always wanted us to stay in school.
Yeah, and I was like, but I'm gonna, you know, music, and he's like, all right, just make sure that, you know, it works.
Yeah,
and
make sure
he left
it works.
it alone. So, you know, the influence was always there, and I think when I went to kind of really dive in and learn how to do production, kind of like what you were saying, is mimicking.
Yeah.
You know, it's everybody has a type beat. Like,
facts.
You know, you find your favorite producer and you're like, I want to know how Pharrell made that, or I'm going to recreate what Timbo, you know, did. And I think we all kind of started there. And like you said, it does help you find your own sound eventually, you know.
It's true. Atlas, what about you? Because a lot of people don't know, Mundo Beats here used to sing.
Being
he
a
still
band.
sings. He writes songs.
And
He
I
had
had
cornrows.
cornrows, that's right.
He had cornrows and shit. Fuck off! So what like influenced you early, like when you were doing your songwriting and stuff?
Honestly, I was a big fan of like harmonies and how sounds and like vocals can work together. So Glam, I had a question for you. When you're saying how in high school, did you do, because I know we did it in my school, like lunchroom, hitting boom, boom, boom.
I think that was everybody.
You know, the ciphering. Okay, yeah, so you were doing the hi-hats.
I was at
Okay.
the lunch table with the
All right, so you were drum programming the hi-hats.
Drum session.
Okay.
Nice.
Drum session. Anybody needed a beat. Everybody was on the same.
Yeah, like for me back in those days, I was the guy like trying to do like singing the choruses and trying to do harmonies. I was trying to be like Boyz II Men. You know what I mean? Like that was my thing back in the day. I sang in the boy band. You know, it was me and 4 other guys. You know, it was the black, white, Puerto Rican, and Asian guy, and I was the Puerto Rican guy. You know, we were a boy band. We were about to get signed, so it was like we were the next best thing since sliced bread. You know what I mean? We had all the races down packed. We wrote all our stuff. We played guitars, and Father Dude was in the group. And if anyone who knows Father Dude in here, hands over hands. There we go. Got about 10 people. So like Father Dude was in my group. I auditioned him to be in my group. I went out putting flyers on the train, looking for an Asian Caucasian. We had the Asian first, then we did Caucasian. That's why I found Father Dude. Flyers and all that.
I got a hit on the Asian singer, bro.
Yo, actually, the Asian was the first one we got. And then we found Father
How many
Dude.
Asians in here? Raise your hand. My guy, my guy.
There's like 2 of them. There's 2.
You Filipino? You Filipino?
I'm Cambodian.
Close enough. Close enough.
Close enough.
We're in the same area.
You family, man.
We're there.
You fan, bro.
Boy bands were pretty big back in the day, though. Imagine Atlas
yeah.
today was still in a boy band.
Now, actually, you know what I really want to do? I want to find the next boy band. I really mean that.
Is that still a thing, though?
It's gonna be a thing.
Atlas doesn't.
It's going to come back. It always comes back around. Anyone knows the music does circles. It comes back around. Is it going to stay? No, it'll do its little blip and disappear, but it always comes back around. Trust me. Right now, there's no boy band popping. I'm going to say the next year, you're going to see like the boy band thing's going to come back.
What was the last
Mark my
Guys,
words.
boy band that was popping?
Doesn't Atlas look like doesn't he look like the boy band guy, like
Come on, man.
with the sunglasses and the drip, like he's like the leader. He's like looking for like new talent.
Yes. I'm like the Puerto Rican Sonic Cowell out there.
I don't know. I don't think the boy bands is coming back, bro.
Trust me.
boy bands are not coming back, bro.
Not boy band, R&B group singing, like a group like Destiny's Child. You know what I mean?
Potential.
If you get 2 or 3 young, good-looking harmonies and they can sing and even rap a little
still be
trust.
a band,
I think it's easier to put a girl group together than it is a boy
Okay.
group.
All right. So here's the question.
Although it's more maintenance,
Within
it's
the-
more maintenance, but
Within the past 2 years or 3 years, has there been one? Can you name one? Like a
boy
group?
band or
boy
I'm not saying boy band. I'm saying
Like
2 or
R&B?
3 artists that are talented and young that sing and write their lyrics and produce maybe not, but who's out
Yeah,
there?
I'm like really looking down.
Okay, so who's out there? Anyone out there know? Okay, go.
There's a dope group called Amir on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amir
They're not-
on
They're
YouTube.
small though. They're not
Small. I'm just saying like out there.
BTS.
BTS, okay, in Asia, right? Huge. Huge. They're the biggest group in the world, maybe. Honestly.
There's a lot of groups in Japan that are like
A lot of
But that's what I'm
K-pop
saying.
groups.
Listen, it's gonna, trust me, we're gonna laugh and like you're gonna be like, damn man, you were right. Watch. I'm telling
They're
you.
gonna say it like that.
I'm telling you, it's that damn man, you were right. Just like that.
we'll see.
We will. I'm telling you.
At's gonna form a fucking R&B group.
I am.
Find it.
Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you sing. Raise your hand if you sing.
Who sings in
Okay,
here?
got
Oh, who
one,
knows singers?
2.
1, 2.
You gonna try to make a group?
Who knows
We got
singers?
We got a duo here. Anyone in the
All right,
back?
come see me after this.
No, you're not trying to raise the hand. You're like, fuck that.
Nah, I see like 6 hands going up.
I'm not trying to get Atlas to
Atlas
plug
is
to be my
hosting
manager.
auditions.
Count me out.
I'm gonna be like, sing right now.
Count me out.
Atlas, you are that kind of
I am that guy. I'm like, oh, you really that dope? Then let me hear something right now then. Because if you that dope, let me hear it.
But I have a couple singer friends, and they say that gets on their nerves when people do that, because it's expected of you to do it, right?
I'm only gonna do it if someone is soliciting their services to me and they're saying, dude, I'm that next guy. I'm gonna say, okay, well, let me hear it right now. If you that nice and you coming to me while I'm walking down the street or I'm here enjoying my food, then let me hear something. And if you don't have it, then I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the interesting thing. It's like if you're a singer or a rapper, right? How many rappers in here? Raise your hand.
Thirsty?
Okay, raise your hand if you're a rapper and you've come up to a stranger and rapped for them at some point. Okay. Okay, raise your hand if. Okay, let's say, I'll just pick a universal person that I'm sure everyone loves. You never
Why do I think I
know.
already know who
You
it's
never
gonna
know. I won't even say Drake. We'll say Jay-Z. Let's say Jay-Z walked into the room right now. I'm only talking to the rappers.
He don't got no pockets.
What you know?
What?
What does that even mean?
What is that? What? He don't got no pockets. What's up?
Oh, that's what Jay-Z was saying?
Oh, okay.
First he would do.
I probably won't say
He'll
anything
laugh,
to you.
So if Jay was in here, he walked in, and you're a rapper,
Yeah.
would you raise your hand if you would rap for Jay-Z? Raise your hand.
Okay,
I would if I was a rapper.
just saying it as like rap for him, like meaning like the given opportunity, or like I'm walking up and I'm like, yo! No.
He's gonna
I'm not
ignore
talking
you.
about opportunity. I'm talking about.
You taking your own
Yeah, I'm talking about you're
I'm
gonna
telling
shoot
you,
your
if
shot.
you do that right now with Jay-Z, he's gonna ignore you.
No.
Yeah, you're gonna shoot your shot and rap, just like how Big Sean rapped for Kanye.
Yeah, that's how you gotta do
You
it.
know what
But
I'm
I
saying?
think Kanye just has that personality. Kanye's like, I want to listen.
Right.
Jay-Z's kind of like,
Jay's not trying to have it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
true.
Jay's trying
Yeah,
to go home
Kanye
and
will jump out his cap and like, let me hear you.
Right.
Jay's not.
Yeah.
I don't feel like he's like that. Yeah.
That's true.
So that's a lesson, right? It all depends on who you're trying to approach. Because
Yeah.
you might turn somebody off and they might shit on you for real.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Especially Jay-Z.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think I could give Beyonce a mixtape.
Someone tried to give Beyonce a mixtape recently.
Not recently.
When?
It was a couple
That's
years
bold.
ago.
A couple years ago?
She didn't take it.
She didn't have no pockets.
That's what you
Now
mean.
I get it. Oh, give him a horn.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense.
But shout out to
Before I
Illmind,
was
great
like,
producer.
what is he?
But shout out to Illmind, great producer. But shout out to Illmind, great producer.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
That's funny. Yeah, giving Beyonce
Booty
a
loops.
mixtape is
All right, get out of here.
That's bold.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta be on some different crack.
Yeah, you really do. There's something to be said about shooting your shot, though, because a lot of people are shooting their shot on Instagram right now, and some of them are switching them. Right. How many of you guys have DM'd a stranger on Instagram? Don't be shy. Tell the truth. You got placements off of that? Wow. What kind of placements? Like were they just pretty random, or like you just sent them beats and then they hit you back, or how'd it go?
Basically, like, there's like a whole process to it.
Explain it. Let's hear it.
So
Stand up. No.
my bro, like his Instagram looks.
Closer to your mouth. Pause.
My bro, his Instagram looks really like professional. Like he has like a lot of followers and he follows like a little bit. So I'm like, yo, hit up this person because I know if they see your page, they're gonna be like, oh, he looks type serious compared to my small ass Instagram. So
Right.
you hit him up, I send the beat, boom, you feel me?
So
Got it.
what was he
Yeah.
saying?
And it actually happened.
And it actually happened.
Good for you.
What was he saying though?
What do you mean?
Like you said, for him to hit them up, what was he telling them?
Oh, like I just got beats. Where
Yeah.
I send?
And then
Gotcha.
he sent your beat.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's a good friend.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
All right, clap it up for that. That was cool.
Booty loops.
I like those stories. I like those
Use that drop.
stories.
Yeah, you got to shoot your shot. Raise your hand if you've heard the Cardo Got Wings episode of BlapChat. Fuck all of you guys, man. Seriously, like, you guys are fucking fucked up. Go listen to that Cardo Got Wings. It was actually, what, a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And long story short, the way that he got to Drake was basically, I think Drake already kind of knew about him already, but he created this like Instagram video of a snippet of a beat that he made. So it was like a video, and he noticed that Drake was following him, and then he got a DM from Drake about the video, and he was like, "Yo, what's up with that beat?" And then Cardo hit him back, and he was like, "Yo, let's go, blah blah blah." He dropped his phone number, and then all of a sudden he gets a phone call from Drake randomly, and they're talking on the phone, and he was like, "Yo, send me a batch or whatever," and that's how they got close. You know what I mean? So something that Cardo did made Drake kind of pay attention.
Yeah.
But you know, Cardo kind of he took a shot and he switched it, and
He got
his life
creative.
changed. And he got creative, you know, and you know now he's got Diamond Records,
Jesus, jeez.
God's Plan. Clap it up
Diamond.
for Cardo one time for God's Plan.
If I do Diamond, like,
Going Diamond is a
really
big
gonna
deal,
talk to
man.
Yo, I got all my placements off Instagram.
Oh, you know, come over here. Clap it up.
Reach
Clap
out
it
to
up.
first.
Fist, real quick. First in the building. Have a seat.
First, sit down.
Have a
man.
seat. We're gonna talk about a few things.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Fisk is a great, amazing producer. Okay, and we met like 6 years ago, I would say 5 years ago, and I've seen him at a lot of different events. He's come to my Pass the Aux events, and he's the ITC, the Beat Showcase, and then you know I Standard, all that stuff. And I've seen him around so many times, and we always build. And you know, he's been on the grind for a long time, and it seems like every year that goes by, there's more progress. And, you know, I don't want to like toot my own horn, but a lot of times when we talk, you tell me that a lot of the stuff that I say on my YouTube and what we talk about on the podcast really helps, which is amazing. So can you tell the crowd a little bit about like what type of, you know, stuff you've applied in your own career to help you grow?
I would say every time I get around Illmind, there's like a restart button. So it's like you got to stay around positive people. Energy is everything. Everything I do is by myself. I can't be with my friends. The same for your friends. This is your dream. You got to do it by yourself. Ain't nobody gonna help you. Just you and God and these people in the room that do the same thing you do and do it 100 miles an hour. I just made like my job, my side job. And I make a lot of money on the books. But my dream has to win.
Right. Clap it up for that one time. Clap it up. When I first met you and you were like, you know, no placements yet, just kind of on the grind, making beats, what was that turning point when you started to really expand your network and start getting placements? And what are some things that you did to get yourself to that point, to get more placements? If you can be as specific as possible, if there's anything.
Everywhere he went, I went.
Word.
Everywhere he went, you got to make sure they get tired of seeing you. I would end up, I'd be like, oh, Illmind's going to be there. I'm going there. I'm going over here. I'm going over here. If he's there, it's important to be there. And I would say, you got to do this every day, every minute. And I came here just to get more energy, to restart again, you know? And it's just like, you got to make it happen. Ain't no second plan. Ain't no... I work at a job and I hear a lot of stories of, oh, I could have did that, yeah, but it just... And I'm like, yo, I can't be that guy back there.
Right. Yeah.
That guy's like 60. And it's like, yo, that could be you.
Yep.
And that could be you quickly looking at yourself, so you gotta fight that.
Right.
That's what I fight a lot. I can't be that guy.
Just tell us about the Instagram placements then.
Oh, so all right.
Yeah, break that down.
I was going through Instagram. You know, everybody emails on Instagram.
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody. Your favorite rapper, artist, whoever. I was going through Instagram, and I think Woodlands and Grants is working with an artist called, I forgot, some singer with Dave East, before Dave East.
Mm-hmm.
So he was with a girl. So I saw this girl, I went through her page. So I took one beat and I sent it to the girl. So she emails me back, who is this for? I'm like, for you. She goes, yo, it don't fit me. But it might fit my boyfriend, Mano. So I'm like, Mano? Mind you, I was just in LA with Mano for a week.
Funny how that works.
Yes, trying to get on through my friends that didn't help me.
Wow.
Right.
That's real.
So I got the email from Mano.
How didn't they help you?
My boy's a major DJ. Your friends ain't gonna help you. I'm around like
That's super facts right there.
YG before he was YG. All these major artists that are major artists, I'm around them 100 miles an hour, and there's no introduction. There's none of that. It's like I didn't make beats. Like we didn't grow up together. We both do music since we was like 8. When I get around you, it's like he does the music, only me. Right. But you start to see some people you keep around. They keep you around not to help you. They keep you around to just show you, look at me, look at me. Yeah. So you got to start to separate yourself from that, and that's a frustration within itself, especially.
Clap it up for that one time. That's actually 1,000% facts. You know, the people that are around you are either, excuse me, really riding for you, like they really want you to win, or they're keeping an eye on you.
So I took it and used it as a goal. So I said, he's a big time DJ. So I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make him spin my record. That's how I know when I'm gonna make it. When he starts spinning my record, he's not even gonna know I produced it. That's a personal thing for me, not for him.
Yep.
So I made that me. Now back to the Mano thing. The Mano thing. So I sent the record in. She said she's gonna give it to Mano. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. She hits me 3 o'clock in the morning. She goes, yo, this is your beat, right? She has him in the booth. Yo, he's vibing to the beat. I'm like, holy shit.
Yep.
The record comes out 6 months later.
Yep.
And then from there, I was Instagram emailing to death.
Oh yeah, and then from there, you could use that that placement as leverage.
That's how it works. You got to take that one thing you get and you have to run with it. I
Run with it.
I read, Ilmind, look at this on Twitter. Ilmind, and then Ilmind was like, you're going to be great. And all the messages that he sent me. Yeah, all the messages you send me, I keep them. I got a message full of emails of people that saying, yo, you're going to be dope. You're going to be, you have to read those things throughout your journey to build that courage because you're going to hit that wall.
Right.
It's nice to not be hiding anything. Like, most people would be like, oh, you save my messages?
I saved them shits.
I'm actually proud of that.
I saved them.
No, I'm fucking proud of that because I don't send dick pics. Like, if I was someone else sending dick pics on the low, I'd be like, you save my messages? Like, what?
That's funny.
So, no dick pics here, guys. Sorry.
That's funny.
Yeah, and Pastor Ox, I went to your Pastor Ox, I think the last one in your studio.
Yeah.
That thing, that
was the last week.
One, yeah, that's the one you said, yo, what you said, what the fuck you been doing for the last year? And then Ilmind got like so happy, and I was like, I never seen this guy happy.
Bro.
Like really, really happy, smiley. It's really hard to, when you introduce your music to people, for them to go, they would sit there and go,
yeah.
They won't even nod their head, So you gotta pay attention.
Right.
So he got so happy, I got home, my wife's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, yo, Ilmind is happy.
That shit made my day.
That shit fucked me up.
That shit made my day so much that I wanted to send you a dick pic.
Pause.
I'm married.
Yeah, me too.
Pause.
Yeah, I did that shit on purpose. The only people that are offended here are the ones that don't listen to the motherfucking podcast. So whatever. We fuck around, man. The comedy is very dry. Frisk, man, yeah, I'm really proud of you, man. Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you another Instagram big one. So I was on Instagram. I hit this kid up. He's looking for records. His name is King James Worthy. He was on. I didn't really know who he was. I just knew the people around him. So I hit him, and he's like, "Yo, send me records. I need records now." I sent him records right now. I sent him like 7 records. He called me. He goes, "Yo, I want this record. I want 2 of them. I'm writing my first record." I'm like, "All right, here we go with the journey of the same old." He's like, "Yo, give me 30 days." On the 30th day, he called me. Record done, cover done, puts it out. The record has over 680,000 streams right now.
Amazing. On Spotify or?
On SoundCloud and I think Spotify.
Amazing.
Then he just called me. He just emailed me to work with Cabela.
Camila Cabela?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Camila Cabela.
Yeah.
So you might be working with Camila Cabela.
She's getting signed on Warner Brothers.
I think like it's crazy because stories like that are the perfect example of like life-changing placements. Like every life-changing placement, there's always like a really complex story behind it. Like you did this, met someone, and then you got introduced to Camila, and then knock on wood.
Yeah, and listening to BlapChat. That shit just draws it draws any future you want. There's so many different stories. I'll listen when I get kind of frustrated. I'll wake up on Saturday. I'm like, yo, I'm doing 5 BlapChat today, and I would just play 5 straight, and then go in the studio. And it's just like a refresher.
Thank you.
Because you gotta, everybody's story is crazy. Like, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
I think also, just kind of like you said, just going 100 and keeping the consistency of your work, but also the positive mindset. Because when you work hard, it's always gonna happen.
Yeah.
So,
like Ilmind said, don't be a dickhead.
Don't be a dick.
Everybody gotta like you.
Just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
There's a couple dicks in here. I know.
and
a couple assholes. There's a couple alphas in here. You know what I mean?
Help people. Like Ilmind's helped a lot of people, so it started making me help people. Like I helped Brainiac. You know Brainiac.
Yeah, Brainiac.
Brainiac
Shout out to
came
my
here.
guy Brainiac.
All right, Brainiac flew here, then he went to your house.
Yep.
All
We
right,
linked up.
Brainiac and Motif. I just got the replacement with a UK artist.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The blessings are just gonna
With
keep
the
coming
same
up for that.
guy,
Clap it
with
up for
the
that
same
one
guy.
time. I love that.
With the same guy from Instagram, the James Worthy guy,
Yep.
right? I told him I don't want no money. Y'all good? I don't worry about it. They go, Joe, we can't do that. They text me back. They go, this is the splits. I was like, holy shit.
That's what's up. You got the flip.
Too. But you gotta let people, everything ain't about money. And when you do stuff, you just do it because you want to do it. And I was like, nah, don't worry about it. And then they just kept us not. And then they sent me like a little paragraph, and I was like, yo. And they forwarded it to the guy. He was like, this is how it gotta be.
Yep.
The guy said, okay, that's how it's gonna be. Record's done. The release date is January 11th.
Amazing. Nice. Congrats. You're on your way. So listen.
Oh, cause yo, you guys got that BlapChat.
But we, you know, and thank you, man, for real. But you know, and we're super humbled by that. But you know, at the end of the day, you put the work in. You know, it's like you, regardless of if our podcast is an inspiration to you, and we're so thankful for that, and all of you guys. But you know, we always want you guys to feel inspired and empowered to do it your way and just go for it for yourself, man. Yeah. And I think you're a great example of like that happening. So clap it up one time for my man, Chris. Being here. Tell me.
Oh, all right. My Instagram is Frisk Tracks, like frisking somebody. My last name is Frisco, so Frisk Tracks. So it's TRACKZ Tracks, Frisk Tracks.
Frisk Tracks.
And I just dropped a record this morning. And it's doing numbers already.
Amazing.
I got a kid named Donna Roy on there. From Sugar Hill Game Family, the young kid.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's crazy.
On all platforms?
All platforms.
Nice.
Frisk Tracks, FRISK Tracks with a Z.
Clap it up one time for Chris. One more time, man.
Frisk Tracks.
My guy.
My guy.
My guy.
Always a pleasure. What a great story.
These sound effects are so like out of control.
Yeah, baby.
Imagine that. That's Valentine's Day right there. After chocolate and steak. You got them bubble guts.
Chocolate and steak.
You know what I'm saying? Man, I think while we're at it, you know, there's so many different things that we've talked about on our podcast. We're on episode 80 something, right, Josh? We've done 80 episodes, and you know, it's just been growing, and I think we've covered so many things. But I noticed, and I was just talking to someone in the back earlier today about this, but it always just seems to just all come back to like a few things, right? In terms of like all of us trying to be successful. And I'm gonna prove that right now, because I think what we should do is do some Q&A. I'm gonna take some specific questions from you guys. And what I'm thinking is gonna happen is a lot of the solutions to a lot of you guys' questions are gonna fall under the same kind of three foundational things. And I want to talk about that because that's what we're all trying to discover. It's like one big experiment. So raise your hand if you have a question. First one up, right here.
All right.
Yell it out.
Oh, all right, cool.
Actually, sit down over here.
Yeah, come over here. I'm gonna give you the mic.
What's your name? What's your name?
I'm gonna.
What is it?
Silence.
Clap it up for silence. Silence. Wait. Silence. My guy, what's your question?
Question. So you posted a couple. I think it was like.
Hold it to your mouth. Pause.
You posted like yesterday, on Instagram, saying like how you love failures, and like going through failures and stuff like that is what made you who you are. What do you classify failures as a producer that really like help you get to places you want to be?
How do I classifile failure, basically?
Like what do those failures look like in the future?
I'm like rewinding back my life in my mind, like a videotape, like rewinding and shit. Failures, so many. Dropping out of college. Being like a D student because I didn't give a shit. My parents yelling at me for having terrible grades. Being broke. Not having any money. And like asking my mom for money so I can go watch a movie. I remember being in a really bad car accident, and it was my fault. I was a fuck up. Signing a bad publishing deal, 2011. I don't know if you guys know that, but I signed a publishing deal, and it was a bad publishing deal, but it was my fault because I didn't have an attorney, and I didn't show an attorney the contract. I just signed it. Like, they sent me version number 1 and I signed it, and it was a really bad publishing deal. Like, I basically did it for the money, and it wasn't that much money. It was $10,000, right? and it was like a 4-song MDRC. So I was stuck, and I was really struggling financially. You know, career-wise, things were kind of on the up slowly, but I was still very much underground, still, you know, trying to like break through, and I didn't know what to do, you know? So I really just programmed my brain to focus on the positive and to look at every mistake and every failure as a blessing. And it ended up being a huge blessing, by the way. If I had not signed that publishing deal, I probably would have signed a publishing deal in 2012 when I got the placement with Kanye. I produced Cruel Summer, or The Morning on Cruel Summer in 2012. And after I produced that record, it was me, Travis Scott, Mike Dean, and Jeff Basker. And we split the publishing, and my cut was like pretty significant. So after I produced that record, I had a whole bunch of publishing companies hitting me up, Sony, Universal, emails like, hey, what's up, Illmind? Congratulations on being on Kanye's album. Let's have a meeting, you know? And at that point, I didn't have a manager, I didn't have an attorney yet, but I was stuck in this publishing deal that I had signed 2 years prior. So if I had never signed that publishing deal, I probably would have signed with like Sony or Universal or one of those deals in 2012. I probably would have signed it. And it probably would have been for a little bit more money, but it probably would have got me stuck in this place. And where I'm at now, I probably never would be here if I did sign that, because that deal would have taken me to a whole nother trajectory of shit. And I remember when I signed my publishing deal in 2010, the shitty one, 2011 was when I put my drum kits out, Blap kits. And I don't think I would have did that if I didn't sign that shitty publishing deal. And so in 2012, if I would have signed with someone else, that would have taken me to a different you know, place in my career now. So I'm going to fast forward. So fast forward to now, 2018. I'm signed to Cobalt Publishing, and it took my manager and my attorney about 2 years to get me out of my old publishing situation. 2 years of negotiating and figuring out loopholes and all this stuff. And this was back in 2015, right? So in 2015, finally got out of my old publishing deal and signed with Cobalt. And then in 2016, Cobalt, who I'm currently signed to, purchased the entire catalog of the old publishing company that I was signed to. And I got to reabsorb all of my old publishing, and now I own everything.
Good for you. That's great. Good for you. Let's back that up.
So sorry to be like long story, but that in 2010 that was a huge failure. But now in
you're like, thank
yeah,
God.
but now in 2018, I own all of my publishing, and I have an amazing deal with Cobalt, and those guys are amazing. And my attorney is killing it. He's really good with Cobalt. Mike Will is also signed with Cobalt. A lot of people, and my attorney also represents Mike Will. So he's really good with that whole publishing stuff, and none of that would have happened if I didn't sign the shitty deal. So long story short, I say that to say that failures are amazing to me, because I know that me failing is me trying something. And if I don't try stuff, I'm never really going to get anywhere. So my life is just a consistent rotation of just trying stuff. Like try. Let's do a live podcast. Let's do a podcast. Let's do a YouTube channel. Let's put a drum kit out. Let's sell a $700 pizza box, like on BlapKits.com. Let's go to fucking Europe and do Pass the Aux tour. Like, these are all huge risks, but I'm doing them, and a lot of them are working. And behind the scenes, there's a lot of work that's being done, you know. So I guess that's the message at the end of the day is the more you fail, the more you know that you're closer to where you want to be. If you're not failing, you're nowhere near where you want to be. So failing is great.
Yeah.
Failing is good.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, actually, I wanted to say,
please
shout out to your lawyer, Vinny, but shout out to your manager, John Master,
Thanks.
for 2 years fucking fighting for your ass to get you out of that shitty deal.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So shout out John Master, Ill's manager, for that. I mean, for me, I mean, it's not that story. To me, I was coming from the artist side of things, like as a songwriter. You know, like when I came up, you know, we were in the R&B group, and then I started that group, like putting out flyers, putting an ad in the Village Voice, renting out a space with my own money, so people, you know, the people came to audition for me, and I made my group. That's how I found Father Dude, you know, and we all lived together, and we rehearsed 5 days a week. Imagine living with your like group, you know, and everyone has jobs, 9 to 5s and everything, and you're rehearsing 5 days a week. Our harmony's super tight. You think you're going to be out of here, you know what I mean? And you know, we had a lot of labels ready to sign us, you know, and then all of a sudden it just falls out from under your friggin', you know, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? You know what I'm saying? So you got to figure it out. So for me, I went from, you know, songwriter, artist, you know, to then, you know, managing studios. You know, I had a studio in Times Square called Town Association, which is still there. You know, just finding artists to record there. So kind of A&R in different projects, you know. Then obviously meeting Ill, you know, I mean, that was a huge thing in my life as well. You know, and just kind of figuring out, like, I went from artist to managing studios, to managing artists, to managing producers, to doing a podcast, to doing events, to, you understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, there's so many options in the music industry for you to strive at. So if you want to be the best producer and it doesn't work out, listen, I'm all for keep going, never quit, but maybe managed producers. You know, maybe, you know, do licensing, work for a licensing company and find young producers that you could put on. You know what I'm saying? So there's so many different options.
It's crazy because that goes back to what we were saying earlier, like the idea of trying shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, man, you just gotta try.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
there's no downside to trying a bunch of stuff.
Exactly.
There really
And I
isn't.
think anytime you're gonna try something new, you're more than likely gonna fail at it or not. It also depends on what your definition of failure is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But
exactly.
I think anytime you're trying to start something new, you know, you might fail at it.
Yeah.
But I think, like you say, the beauty of failing, for me, if I fail at something, I'm going to be frustrated.
Right.
You know what I mean? I
Naturally,
think that's
right.
natural. I'm going to be frustrated, but as I've gotten older, I've realized that, you know, there's always a lesson to be learned.
Exactly.
And there's always a way to do something different so that you won't fail next time. And it might take you a couple tries, but that's the thing about failure is if you don't do something good the first, second, or third time and you keep trying, you're just going to get better. So I think that's the beauty of failure is eventually you get better and then it gets better.
That's true. Raise your hand if you work out, like in the gym, you pump iron and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna raise my hand high because I do for sure.
I saw that commercial too.
You know what I mean? A6. That shit was a workout. They had like 2 trainers on set. It was like craft services, fucking pancakes.
You guys doing a workout video with a ton of
and then
foods.
like after I'm done eating, this motherfucker got me doing lunges. Trying to make it
backwards.
was a real ass workout, man.
See, but that's something I would do though. Is just stuff my face and then be like, I guess.
I had to do that. But
Completely opposite.
what was I saying?
Working out. How many people work out?
So the workout thing, I'm going to keep this short. So basically, you know, when you work out, when you pump iron, the whole idea is to, you know, maximize your weight or reps, and you keep going until your muscles fail, right? So it's this whole thing of like, you know, bench pressing or doing curls or whatever exercise you're doing, you do it until you can't do it anymore, and that's when you reach failure. And then, you know, if you're working your biceps that day, you wait a couple days to rest your biceps, and then you go back and do it again, fail again, work out till you fail, and then after a month, you're much stronger than you were before. And this music game, this being a producer, a rapper, or a singer, it's the same exact thing. It's like all we're doing is just working until we fail. Once we fail, then we have this rest period of, you know, reassessing and trying different things and learning from our mistakes, and then we come back stronger. And then eventually you reach that point where, you know, you have, you know, you're bench pressing fucking 300 pounds. That's a Grammy right there. You know what I'm saying? That's when you're ready. Or you get thrown into a room with Jay-Z, you know, and he's like, play me some beats. Well, you know, you can bench press 300 at that point. So then you knock that out the ballpark, and now you're on your way to a Jay-Z placement. You know what I mean? Because you put the work in. You failed enough times to be strong enough for that moment. So literally, that's really what all this bullshit fucking comes down to, is how much are you really failing? Because if you're not failing, then you're not strong enough. You're not where you need to be.
If you're not failing, you're not trying. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. If you're not failing, you're not trying. You know, and if you're not trying, then what are you doing? You're sitting there doing shit. You know, so at the end of the day, you know, shout out to Frisk, man. Where is he? Frisk. Dude, your story, again, I've known you for years. You know, we would always say, yo, you're one placement away. And then the placement happened for you. You know, it's like, and that's the whole thing, is you just try. You shot that DM. And then when,
let me tell you what I just did, right? I bought a convertible, right? Let me tell you what I did.
Wow, convertible.
I bought a convertible, and so once the time came, I got 2 cars. I took the insurance off both of the cars now, so I can't drive nowhere. So now I'm just doing fucking music for the whole winter.
Wow.
So now both of my cars are in my driveway, and my wife's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, yo, go take an Uber. But I have to drive my mind, and because of that, everything is just like so focused. I can't. I'm like a horse like this now. Like,
amazing.
You gotta control your destiny. You control your own destiny. You know.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Exactly.
I just wanted to say that.
Exactly. Guys, get a round of applause to Silence one time. Coming up here. Yes, sir. Awkward handshake.
It's like 2. It's kind of like when you say bye to somebody and you leave, but they're going the same way you are. You're like, oh shit, fuck, god damn it, I hate when that happens. Yeah. Anybody else got any questions?
Yeah, more questions. Let's go, my man Broadway.
My man right here?
Then we'll go to you next.
Here, come on. Here, use this one.
Come on and take the hot seat.
What's going on, Broadway? This is less of a question, but it's more of a, you'll help me out by putting an emphasis on, I just dropped my first sample pack on my nose that because I'm under his imprint actually.
Yes, kidsohard.com.
I have a lot of friends who do beats and stuff like that, but you know, they have beats and they're not creative with how to get them shits out there. And I just want to emphasize on you have to think outside the box of how to get your shit out there, because I do weird shit. Like I would look at Illmind's followers and see emails, who has emails on their Twitter account, and then email these producers just to get my little sample kit out there, and it got me a lot of success. I reached out to Andrew Master, who's his manager's brother.
Yeah.
Shout out Andrew. Yeah, so, and now I got a kit on his site. And that's just because I was thinking outside the box of how to get my shit out there rather than just sitting complacent.
Yeah.
Not just sitting there with a product and not doing anything with it.
Exactly.
And I think it's, you just have to, there's 2 hustles. You gotta do the music, and you also have to get that music too. So then what's the point, you know what I mean? So I just want to ask you, like, what are some of the ways you thought early on of how to be creative and getting your shit out there and getting known?
Getting out there?
Yeah. I knew you from the Ustream days too, remember? So that was like one of the most innovative things I've seen a producer do, is start a community like this.
Yep.
And that's one of the ways, like, you know, you got known as a producer by being the producer's producer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, it was always trying to just be around people that are like me.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's really what it comes down to. By all means necessary. So if that's over Ustream on the internet, cool. If that's over IG Live, cool. If that's a podcast, cool. If that's Past the Aux, cool. You know, and even like back in the day when I first started doing this shit, I was just going to events. I had a big homie who used to DJ a lot of the parties, and I would just go to the parties with him and like carry crates and just like be there. And then I would meet like rappers and other producers and other DJs, and he would introduce me. And at that time I started making beats, so I wasn't like giving CDs out, but I was just meeting people and networking, man, and getting to know people, you know, and that's how it started for me, you know, like just getting to know people and really just surrounding myself by like-minded people. I mean, I know that sounds so cliche, but it's just, that's what it is, you know, and now with the internet, I feel like we're all so spoiled.
Right.
We're so spoiled. Like, to be in this room
with all these producers and creators, like this is super rare. You know, this is like low key, like unheard of almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of my.
You know, I want to add to Ill's point. You know, when you're talking about branding yourself as a producer, Illmind's obviously a genius at that, right? And what you have to remember when you're doing a brand like someone like yourself, and you're trying to figure out how to get out there and thinking outside the box, is you have to think about different touch points, right? So when you're thinking about touch points, you're thinking about how can I create 5 to 7 different touch points on people out there to see my brand. And let's think about Ill. He's a perfect example. Boom, you do the kids. You know, you do the Ustreams. You do the podcast.
Yeah.
You do the DJing. So you do, you know, the clubs. You do the Pass the Aux. I just named 6 touch points.
Yeah.
So everybody in here needs to find out, okay, what touch points, how can I create 3 to 5 right now?
Touch points.
In different ways for my brand to get out there.
I've never used that word, touch points.
Yeah, touch points. So when you
do we have to pause that or
so no? I mean maybe, but you know, but think about it. It's like when it comes to sales, you have to at least, if you're cold calling somebody or this, that, or whatever, you have to at least reach out. You have to speak to them at least 5 to 8 times for them to buy. So you need touch points, a text, a this, a podcast, whatever. Figure out what your touch points are. Create 3 to 5 of those touch points and put them out there. And I'm telling you, your brand will grow. Trust me.
It's good to have like placements, because I have a Joel. I got my first placement with Joel Ortiz, and I did some work with Shady and all. But it's good to have that. But even if I didn't, I feel like, thank you, appreciate that. Even if I didn't, I feel like I'd still just like, you know, just try to put myself in front of people. It helps to have those placements, because then you get, they'd be like, okay.
Yeah, a placement is a touch point.
Right. Exactly.
You know, like you guys. Let me tell you guys, like every time I get a placement, I get a text or a call from someone in the industry that I haven't spoken to in a while. Right? And it's because it's because it's that specific. You know what I'm saying? Hey, big head. You know what I mean? Yeah, hey, big head. Oh my God.
You know what I mean.
And then dick pic following. I get someone in the industry texts me or calls me right after I get a placement, and I think that kind of goes in line with what Alice said about touch points. Is that placement was like a 4th or 5th touch point for that person to say, oh shit, I should hit Illmind up, because I saw him on Instagram a few times, and then I saw him on this Asics commercial, and then I saw him on the Black Panther album. Let me text this motherfucker. And you know what I'm saying? Like touch points. So it's like visibility, touch points. How can you maximize where you're seen, but in sort of this weird creative way? Like some of you guys have probably seen me A6, right? Raise your hand if you saw that fucking commercial. Okay, it's nationally syndicated. Me working out. How many of you guys have seen me on Gary Vee's podcast?
I seen that.
All right, how many of you guys have seen my YouTube? How many of you guys have seen my name in a production credit on an album you're listening to? How many of you guys have purchased my kits? Yeah, touch points. Just multiple. All you guys are touching me right now. Pause. There's no reason why all of you guys aren't able or shouldn't be able to do exactly what I'm doing, but in your own way, right? Like, and I'll tell you, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, honestly. I don't know.
Oh, please.
No, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but all of my decisions are made based off of fun and instinct and just going for it, and energy. It's instinct. You know, it's like when they say, I don't know if you guys saw Pharrell's interview. Pharrell had an interview on Complex recently, and they're asking him, like, you know, I think they asked him, like, what drives you or whatever, and he was just like, instinct, you know, like me being in a room or injecting my instinct into a song or a product or a piece of clothing or a shoe is kind of where the magic is. And I think all of us as artists and creatives in here, we all have our own unique instinct when it comes to certain shit. So I think we're all individual here enough to be able to apply our own instinct to certain things.
We were talking about that outside. Remember?
Yeah.
We were talking about the word organic.
Yeah.
You know.
Gluten-free, grass-fed.
Yeah. I think we found that this instinct just, even when like we were talking about starting a beat, like we don't plan what's gonna happen with that beat.
Yeah.
We sit down, we find the sound, and then we find a chord progression, and then it just happens. You don't go and plan it. Yo, I'm gonna make. I don't anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't think Illmind does. I guess you guys don't know, but it's instinct. And then you should apply that to business, and you should apply that to your approach about getting yourself out there, which is that's why I asked Chris about his Instagram story, because recently I'm a friend of that DJ Cast One from Hot 97. I saw him post this kid from Harlem some video and this shit was hot like Bobby Shmurda shit. Nobody knows this kid. So I said, you know what? I DM'd this kid and I was like, yo, I'm friends with Cass. I saw your video. And now I sent him like 27 beats. This kid is in college in Kentucky. He's coming back to Harlem to record. He's recording like 10 of my beats now.
Amazing.
He might be the next Bobby.
What if he blows up?
Right.
Exactly. So you got if you have shit, get that shit out there. Find out how to do it.
Find him early.
Find
him early. Clap it up for Broadway one time. Thank you, Broadway. All right, my guy had a question over here. Come on up. What's your name? Maverick. Clap it up for Maverick one time.
Shout out to Maverick with this. All right. Hey, Maverick.
Maverick definitely dressed for the room.
Yeah.
That sofa, that couch looks so good.
Meant to be? I
Meant
hope
to
so.
be.
I
You
think
should take
so.
some photos, yeah. So what's
first
your
thing-
deal, man? What's up?
I want to say thank you because I stumbled upon who you were. I did not know.
It wasn't through ASICS.
No.
Okay, good.
I stumbled upon you
This
through.
guy doesn't know how to work out. Let me start following him.
I stumbled upon you through working out through a very interesting time in my life. And hearing Are You On 10 Yet? While I was working out, propelled my thoughts to be like, damn, who the fuck made this beat?
Amazing.
So I've been making music since I was 16. I'm telling a homegirl here, Nyla, about that. And FL Studio also, big fan of FL Studio. And hearing you produce in this time in my life where I was relearning how to produce. And you talked about hitting the wall. Everybody has to hit this wall. It is very fucking necessary. Without hitting this wall, you don't recognize who you are and why you are doing it. Hearing you and hitting this wall simultaneously led me to be a better producer.
Amazing.
So,
amazing.
What I want to voice the opinion to the room and to you is, was there a moment? All right, so we all have friends and family that support or don't support what we do, right? And everybody has a person in their life that they want to root for them harder than anyone else. Is there a point when do you recognize the point where I can no longer depend emotionally on anyone else but myself to get to the next step?
Depend on emotionally.
Yeah.
Got it.
When did you recognize that? It's a battle, right? To be a producer, to be a creative or an artist, this is such an emotional thing.
It is.
Like when you do, I record people, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
yeah.
I record people, engineer, A&R, there's a level of therapy that goes through you and the artist before y'all create, or I feel like needs to happen.
Yeah.
So we not being acknowledged, especially as mad dudes in here, we not acknowledging our emotions. We get to this point, and then so many people give up because of relationships, because of parents, friends. How do you show that to everyone else so we don't jump that bridge?
Here's my answer instinct, and I want you guys to answer this too, because women haven't figured it out, by the way. So clap if you're a woman in here. You are the God's gift, because men are trash.
Straight up.
We're trash. Men are trash.
Straight up.
No, we'll get into that, but we're trash, first of all. Okay, so let's get that out the way. My instinct to that tells me I'm going back again, and I'm thinking about how I feel now and how I used to feel and everything in between. And I think for me, at least, what I've always done was just put myself first. I put myself first, right? And at first when you hear that statement, you think, oh, he's just like, he cares about himself, and he's like Tin Man, and he's like he doesn't care about other things or other people. But I think that when you analyze yourself and your situation, and if you have this sort of like aspiration to help people that you care about, and whether you have children or you have a significant other or family or friends, you want to be able to provide for these people, right? You can't provide for people if you're running on empty. That's really just what it comes down to. So I'm in this consistent, I have this Venn diagram in my mind at all times where I'm always just trying to make sure my tank is full. Because if my tank is full, I'm fucking dangerous. Wanna know why? Because I fucking give. You know? I mean, if my tank is full, I can't fit any more gasoline. So it's time for me to go out and make moves, you know? So if you're at the point where you're empty and you're consistently trying to give, and you feel depleted, and to me, that's no way to live life. So I'm always of the philosophy of put yourself first, get your shit straight, and then start providing for other things. And obviously there's different ways, like if you have children, obviously having a child is such a selfless thing. Like I can't wait for the day that I have my first child.
I ain't got no kids. I know what you're talking about.
Right. But when I do, I know it's going to change my life, and I'm going to be an amazing father, and it's going to be about them. But I still need to be full. I still need to have enough to provide for that child, right? So I think that's really important, and I know that's controversial in a way, and I know that might be hard for people to understand, but as long as I'm fucking good, trust me, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure everyone else around me is good as well. And that's my thing.
Fact. Yeah, I agree with you in the sense of, you gotta put yourself first, to a certain degree. You gotta prioritize yourself just as much as you prioritize other things, whether it's helping other people or children, relationships. You gotta learn how to give back to yourself, a lot, because people can motivate you and people can be there to help you, but ultimately you are the one that's going to physically do whatever work it takes to get yourself to the next level. So, I think as far as like emotions, I'm a very emotional, loving. Virgo, yeah, I'm a fucking Virgo.
Virgo.
It's like three of us. I'm a fucking Virgo. So, I think I'm also learning that more so now is how to take control of my emotions, and also a big part of it is learning how to not take things too personal. Because when you get too emotional, you might be taking something personal, or you might be too invested in that thing where it affects you to that point. So it's just analyzing what that is and being able to kind of control your emotions.
I agree. I agree to that. I also feel like when you do that, let me start with mine. Mine.
Please.
Where should I start? Well, it's not the same, but it's not. For me, as an artist and having like supportive family and supportive fans or like friends, you have people that you just kind of want that camaraderie from. Like right. You look at other artists like your peers. Yeah. Yes, right. You look at artists like your peers. So it's like you don't look at yourself like a fan first. You look at them like, oh, I'm one of them. But at one point, you do want that that validation. Mm-hmm. And so one of my homeboys, he told me this story, and I don't want to say the person's name because it wasn't a reflection upon him. But I bring this up to say like he opened up for him. This is my boy. He opened up for this other artist that's big that me and him both love. So he opens up for this artist in like a whole nother country. So I hadn't seen him. So we finally like catch up to each other. I'm like, yo, like how was that? Because I know when I saw it on Instagram and all this shit, I'm like, I know he's going crazy right now. Like, how was that? And he was like, oh, I actually didn't even get to meet him. And he was like, but I did run into him in LA, and like we had an exchange, so I had an opportunity to say, oh, like I da-da-da-da. So when he circled back to him, was like, oh, word. And then like basically said something like, oh, you're the one with the shirt, right? Something like that. Like he didn't remember him for shit. And he had this moment where he realized that, and he was telling me, he was like, I had this moment where we have to detach the umbilical cord from our idols and the people that we really want the acknowledgement from, mainly because it's the people that are gonna speak for you, that's who you have to pay attention to. You pay attention to the people who don't know you from anything, that just heard you on the gram, just heard you on SoundCloud and message you and say, yo, you're dope. That's who you have to listen to. That's who you talk to. That's who you engage with. You hit all of those people back, all in your messages. That's the encouragement, because as you can see, like, they're just like us. They don't owe us anything, but we feel like they do because we love them so much and we want them to acknowledge how much we acknowledge them. But they didn't, you know what I'm saying? They had to get it from the people. Like, just how, maybe except for Beyonce, I think everybody looks at one person, just how you're looking at somebody else, somebody's looking at you like, damn. And there's another person that's looking at them like, damn. And it just keeps going and going and going and going. So what's that thing? No life is better than yours.
Yeah, no such thing as a life that's better than yours. Love yours. Yeah, it's so true. Like, Glam hit such a strong point because, you know, we all need to find inspiration somewhere. You know, like, I'm inspired too. Like, I don't just like go around. I need fucking inspiration, and I need to go to shows and feel inspired. Like, you know, so I think we all just kind of have those things and have to embrace that, and that's it. So.
Can I leave something with the people?
Please.
Yeah.
So, last thing I want to say, well, thank you all of you. Thank you all of you for existing and then sharing with all of us, because we all need these levels of encouragement at whatever level in the stage. My man Frisk, who I just heard of today, you motivated the fuck out of me. But there's two kinds of pain in this world, my friends. There's a pain of discipline and a pain of regret. And you always have to choose one of those.
That's a fact.
Yep. I'm done.
Silence. That was a pin drop. You should have dropped the mic. I should have given you the mic.
Shout out silence.
Dropped it and exited. Like, that was.
But that is a fact, though. It's either you're gonna regret not doing it, or you're gonna, you know, you're gonna have pain of not doing it, or you're gonna have pain like, fuck, I'm tired.
That's why it's just so much better to just
do the work.
Yeah, it's so much better to just like do it. You know, like just do the thing, because no one really, like, at the end of the day, like, no one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, no one's sitting there waiting for you to like try something and then fuck it up and say, haha, you failed. Mm-hmm. Like, no people, because people, that's what you think.
You make it up in your head.
Well, even if they are doing that, they're the bottom of the barrel. They're the bottom of the barrel.
There's something I wanted to say about that too.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really important. It's something that you touched on. For me, everything is personal. I take everything personal. This is my shit. This is what I want to do with my life. This is how I plan to provide for my family, whatever, right?
Yeah.
My thing is, and I had to learn this too, it's not really a failure. I think it just comes with age. You can feel exactly how you want to feel, but don't show them everything. Know how to place your emotions, know how to separate and say, no, I don't like that shit. I don't really fuck with that dude. But you know what? I see the bigger picture. Always be willing to step back, because I've shot myself in the foot a few times with people that I could have fucked with that are popping, but because they did something that I didn't like. And it wasn't even like, oh, I had to like, you know, it was just like, I was that strong in my head. Like, I was like, I don't fuck with that. But I wasn't able, it was blocking me from seeing what I could have benefited from. If you don't like that person, fine, smile and kill the fuck out of them. That's all you got, that's it. Don't show them everything.
Yeah, but also too, hold on real quick. There are like very successful businessmen out there, and women, that do business and make millions and millions of dollars with people they fucking hate.
Yep.
Does that make sense? You guys, you hear what I'm saying? So like, you have to learn how to not take it. I don't mean you. I just mean in general. Like, as a person,
It can
like,
always
don't,
be personal.
Yeah, you
Don't
can take it
show
as personal as you want, but at the end of the day, what does that really mean?
Right.
You know, you want to like progress and keep moving. If you take it personal, you're gonna stop. You don't want to stop. You always want to move, and you always want to move forward. And always remember this, and we touched upon it earlier. At the end of the day, nobody owes you fucking shit.
Yep. And
nobody owes you shit. So it could be your man, your homie, your brother, your cousin, your mom, whatever the fuck it is. You always have to move forward.
Right.
And you always have to be positive, and you have to be humble. And at the end of the day, keep, you know, changing and progressing. You know what I'm saying? But always be like we always say, don't be a dick at the end of the day.
Well, one thing also kind of, you know, when he was touching on like the emotional thing and taking things personal, it's also understanding that everyone is their own person, you know. So if someone feels a way about you or a situation, and this is what I've learned like with age as I've gotten older, is sometimes it's not always you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it's their perspective, what they're going through, what, you know, their bad opinion. So it's about like that detachment, like investing in you enough to know like, okay, I'm always improving, you know, I'm always going to be better, but I'm not going to take anything personal to where it's going to hold me back.
Yeah, and there's always, what was the percentage, like the breakthrough, and like, it was like 13% of people out there. You know, we were talking about that? Can you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, basically there's the percentage of like fans.
Right.
Yeah, so, you know, it's this theory. I don't think it's a theory. I believe it's fact, actually. But, you know, there's this thing where if you're a musician or a producer, or if you're in this position to gain fans, basically the rule of thumb is once you gain 13% or higher, once you get over that threshold of 13% of your fan base that you've won over, then word of mouth takes over. That 13% is enough people for word of mouth to kind of, you know, come into effect and successfully increase your fan base. Obviously, every situation is different and those numbers can fluctuate, but at some point in time, all of us have to put the work in enough to have just enough fans to reach a breaking point to where we can reach that next level of, you know, I have 1,000 core fans globally. That's enough to get me from 1,000 to 10,000 in 12 months. And then another 12 months after that, I go from 10,000 to 40,000. And then from there, you're on your way. And we've seen it time and time again.
Oh, yeah.
You know, everyone that's successful right now.
It's
You know,
happening.
we've seen the bottom of the barrel, now they're up, you know, so.
Yeah, and people are going to say, well, how do I do that? We just told you guys earlier. Touch points. Pause.
Touch points. And dick
All day.
pics.
No dick pics. No
Yeah. All right, we're going to do one more question, and then
All
we're
right.
going to
All right, who should we get?
Later.
Who should we get? Oh.
He had his hand up really early,
All
so
right,
we'll
all
let
right,
him
let's
come
get
up. What's your name?
Dev.
Dev? Clap it up
Dev.
for Dev real quick. One
Shout
time.
out to Dev.
What's up, Dev?
What's going on, guys? Appreciate the time.
Of course.
We've been talking a lot about placements, and you'll hear different things from different producers. So some producers will say, yeah, chase the placement, and then you also hear a lot of producers say, latch onto an artist or find an artist that's up and coming or somebody that you believe in and work with them. So I know I've been working with Silence for like probably close to 2 years now, and you know, him and I have a great working relationship. Another artist I work with is my sister. She's an R&B singer.
Amazing.
So if you can just kind of talk about that, like, you know, everybody says, yeah, placements, but what about, you know, the Drake 40 combinations of the world? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm always going to lean towards building with artists and building something special from scratch with them. That's just always going to be a good strategy. You know, the placement stuff is it's such a unpredictable thing that if you're developing artists, you're increasing your chances of placements anyway, because you're getting closer and closer to reaching success, real success, like building a real foundation from scratch with another artist. And then when you get to that certain point with that person, then placements, you know, placement opportunities start to open up after that. You know, placements, getting major label placements, like getting on big albums, are a result of like a multitude of shit that you did. You know, and there's a large percentage of part of that component being working with other artists. So it's always going to be beneficial to work with upcoming artists or just other artists in general. That's going to increase your chances of eventually getting major placements. And, you know, it took me a really long time to get like my first major placement. I spent the first 6 to 7 years just working with underground people, like selling beats for $50 and working with Elda Sensei and Acrobatic and Little Brother and, you know, all these underground guys in the mid 2000s. That was like my underground era. And then, 2012 hit, and I got a Kanye placement. And then J. Cole, and then Drake, and then, So, took a long time, but so it's always beneficial to work with underground and then eventually get to those major placements, afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't like the term chasing placements. It just, I think we all kind of, producers especially, like we have this false vision of like what that looks like. You sit down in an A&R office, and they're like, play me some beats. Okay,
Right.
this one is for Rihanna.
Right.
This one's for Drake.
Yeah.
This one I'm gonna play for Jay-Z in 1 hour when I see him. Not happening ever. False. So, yeah, I think you're on the right path.
I feel like in this day and age, you can do all of it though.
You can.
Especially with the internet.
No, you can.
Like, I think it's great to build with an artist. Like, if you find an artist that's dope, why not it be you that helped to break them, right? Like, you want to be a part of that, especially as a producer.
Yeah.
But the way shit is now,
you can
just email somebody, One of the guys that had the question at Broadway, he was saying that he emails people, and I check all my emails.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, like, if you get a lot of emails, you send a lot of emails, you do business via email, you're always checking your emails.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I agree. I think, I wasn't saying to not do anything else. Right. I think you should absolutely do it all. But I think if you're a producer, if you're a producer, you should be developing artists. I think I just think that's a crucial component to it all. Like, for me, my artist development phase was Sky Zoo. Sky Zoo taught me how to like make beats for someone who could really rap, because he's like a master poet rapper. I also learned how to engineer, how to mix, how to master, how to put an album together, how to really produce an artist. I learned from him by producing him, and he's not the biggest artist in the world, but I learned from him. So I just think the act of developing an artist and producing an artist is just crucial if you want to be successful as a producer. So yeah, but Avian is definitely 100% right.
Yeah, because in a sense, like, what's chasing a placement, like you said, unless you do have access to A&Rs and it's easy for you to go to someone's office, do that. But if you're like trying to like stand in front of every label in hopes of passing out a USB, it's like
not gonna happen.
I check on my email, so if anybody has any samples or melodies, I check all of that.
Tell them your email right now. Tell them.
Hit up Perfection.
perfectionproductions09@gmail.com.
You heard that, guys.
I've had
you got one shot. Hurry up.
I've had people who send me melodies, and I check my email. So I think that's a good way to, to obviously get a placement, is to email people, because more than likely people are checking their email. Unless, they have 1,000 emails throughout the day, they might not get to it. But I think the way the internet is now and how easily accessible it is to find someone's email, like on their Instagram and shit, you can like use that as an avenue. But definitely developing an artist from the bottom is also a great way.
Listen, this goes back to what we just talked about, guys. And listen, I'm not trying to like beat a dead horse. Touch points, email them, DM them,
That's the word of
text
the night.
them, retweet them, comment on their thing, like the comments. Do everything you can. See them in person. Go to the events. Shake.
Let me give you a quick example, and this applies to Frisk and Broadway. You multiple touch points. Pause. Right.
100%.
I see Frisk at a DITC showcase.
Right.
And then I see him, and then he tells me what his Instagram is. I start, I see his name, and then I see him at another event, and then at this thing, and then it comes to my, the studio past the aux thing in 2015. Now I see him here. I saw you a couple times this year.
I think I just saw you at your birthday party.
Oh yeah, my birthday party at Drum. And then you did the True Master show. You did True Masters too. Yeah.
So multiple touch points for him. Every time I see Frisk, it's always love and it's always super cool. And like I see him on my social media all the time, liking pictures, commenting. Like I feel like I know you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Same with Broadway. So it's just I think that's how it is with human beings. Is when you give a human being enough touch points, they open up a little bit more to wanting to be open to you and help you. So
it's almost like you said. It's like it's like know you. Like you know them already.
Exactly.
One thing I always say though is don't be annoying.
Just don't be
No,
annoying.
no, you got to be tasteful with this.
Don't be
Yeah,
annoying.
be tasteful.
You know, like, let me say one thing on that.
Yeah.
Like, I was saying it's important to like email and just help people on social and everything, but one of the most important things, like I hear all people say this and it applies to me too, is doing things like this and getting in rooms and creating actual relationships. Like I just went to Iceland, it was Jay Hatch's birthday, and I've known Amadeus for a while, but I met Trilogy through him. Now me and Trilogy are doing shit together. I'm doing shit with Amadeus, and it comes from. Is he here?
I think Trilogy is supposed to be here actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I just sent Trilogy a sample pack, like, you know what I mean, and like
And now you guys are collaborating.
And hopefully, yeah. So like, but it's about it goes way further that in-person thing than you know. But if the only thing you have is email, do it. But
Yeah, anytime you're meeting someone in person, just don't be annoying.
Yeah, just don't be annoying.
Be tasteful.
Be
Yeah.
tasteful.
Give it, guys, clap it
Don't
up
be
for
a
Dev
groupie.
one time.
Hey!
Yes. My guy. It's good.
How y'all feeling out there?
You guys feeling good?
Y'all having a good time?
Are y'all connecting?
Are you guys getting contacts and touch points?
Touch points?
Are you touching people? Are you touching points?
Dick pics!
You guys sending any dick pics out?
Illmind, I guess we got somebody.
One of you motherfuckers are gonna start send us dick pics. It's gonna get messed up. It's crazy. Well, we're back.
Yes,
We are
sir.
good to go. I just want to shout you guys out, man. Really appreciate you guys coming out. This is our first BlapChat Live. So give yourselves a round of applause for being here, first of all. And shout to everybody that's in the building here. Shout to my brother, Spot. My brother Les, clap it up for him. The OG. That's my older brother. He's taught me a lot over the years. He plays piano way better than me.
He taught him everything he knows, guys.
Yeah, I don't know how to play him. Like let's switch. He's really good. Oh, check 1 2. Check 1 2. He's really good at playing piano. Shout to my man Parks.
Parks is in the building.
Joe
Parks
Budden
in the building.
podcast.
And I heard this
Shout out to
beat was
Parks,
in
Joe
here.
Budden podcast.
And he bounced.
A lot of people. Shout to where's Rance 1500.
Yeah.
Shout to my man Rance.
We got a lot of people
Yo.
here.
1500 or nothing.
Yo, we got Buck Wild.
Buck Wild is in the building. Shout to Buck Wild.
Shout out Buck Wild, man. We love you. Where is Buck Wild?
This shit.
We got
This
A-King.
setup
We
is
got our
trash.
A-King,
We need
my brother.
a stage. We need a stage.
We need to be in the, like elevated in the Raptors or something.
Yeah, we do.
Shout out to A-King though in the building.
Yup, shout out to A-King.
Shout out to
Shout out A-King.
Najee Rap Radar.
Yup.
K Quick is in the
Rap
building.
Radar.
There's so many
There's a lot of people.
Ski.
fucking rich
Ski
people in here.
Beats was there.
Ski Beats was
Shout
here.
out Ski.
You know what they say? There's a lot of money in here. Touch points. That's not coming from us. Touch points. All right, here we go, guys. So listen up. We have a really amazing special guest tonight. We're gonna talk to this guy. He's really special. We'll probably talk for like 30 minutes or so. Try to dig deep into his brain about certain things. So I just want to introduce the big homie, the legend, the GOAT. Let's give a warm round of applause for Just Blaze. Clap it up for Just Blaze.
Welcome.
What else, sir?
What's up, everybody?
Keep those claps coming, guys. Come on.
Thank you. Appreciate you too.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
Just thank you. Did you pull up in the Lambo? That's the
No, I
question.
did not. I did the Tesla.
You did the Tesla?
Yeah.
Just is such a dick. So I'm like texting my friend. No, I'm like Just. So I just want to make sure, like, if you need an Uber, you know what I mean, I want to take care of you. This motherfucker texts me back. He's like, I might bring the Lambo out, but I'll probably bring the Tesla.
But no, you know what? Because parking the Lambo around here is a big.
You don't want to do that.
No, you know what it is like, because the garages they won't take it because of the insurance.
Oh fuck.
So you're forced to park in the street. Only in Midtown, like downtown, uptown, I'm good.
Yeah.
But in Midtown, they won't take it.
They won't play. They don't play.
Because if something happens to it, their insurance won't cover it.
Right.
Quick question before we jump in. Can you lease Teslas or are they for purchase only?
As of 2016, you can.
You can, okay, because I heard you have to custom build them and own them.
Yeah, no, they have they have like pre-made ones that you can lease, or you can actually build the one and lease it. And they give you the option to. I went through my options. At the end of the lease, you can take what you leased it, like what you paid in the lease, and apply that to the purchase if you want.
To purchasing if you want. So option to buy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which one you like better, the Lambo or?
It depends on how I'm feeling.
On the mood, right? What's going on?
Depends on the trip.
Who you gonna see?
So here's the interesting thing.
Which one is faster?
Here's the interesting thing. Short distances, the Tesla smokes almost anything. If you Google like Tesla versus Lamborghini, Tesla versus Ferrari, you do like the short straight runs, Tesla always wins. It's when you go for the stretch that eventually the horsepower from the real engine takes over.
Crazy. All right, so let's talk about some real shit. You at this point it was weird because before you got here, the four of us were talking on group chat. We were like, what do we talk to Just about? Because at this point in time, like I feel like a lot of people know a lot of the stuff. Obviously, there's stuff that's missing.
Of course.
There's a really rich history.
But you don't want to ask me, like, so how'd you get started?
Yeah, like, how'd you get started?
Yeah.
The Jay-Z history, like, all that shit's done, right? So, in my mind, I'm like, and we were talking about this, we're like, this is a music production-driven podcast, right? And you're one of
podcast. I didn't even know.
Well, it doesn't look like it, but the room's really sexy, right?
Yeah.
A lot of mercy.
A lot of mercy.
The podcasts that I do, they're not in places like this.
Yeah, you're talking Illmind here, man.
We had to get it nice for you, Just.
Yeah.
So this is like the Lamborghini of podcasts.
It is. You know what I'm saying?
We need that. We need that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? We leasing this shit. We don't own. We lease. Lease everything.
Option to buy.
Option to buy.
We're like the Tesla of
We're the Tesla of podcast. So like I'm thinking like this is producer driven podcast. I think there's a lot of like these underlying factors that contribute to why you're so successful.
Right.
And I really want to dig into that stuff because I feel like your story is so crazy and there's so many like anomalies that have happened in your career.
Definitely.
But there's certain things that you did that contributed to why that shit happened.
Right.
It's not just as simple as, like I worked with Jay-Z and now I'm kind of put on the map. But like, what about all the shit before that?
Right, but there's also a lot of people who work with Jay-Z.
Yeah.
And they're nowhere to be found.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
I think that's not shots to anybody.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of how we structured this from the beginning. It was all right, so I'll start not from the beginning, but like at that turning point when I was when the Jay-Z or when the Rockefeller thing overall was kind of like taking place. Initially I was approached to it's funny because No ID just told a story about this, and I think just the years going by, we get older, our memories, he had this thing where he was saying that like me and Ye and him and somebody else all got contracts and we were going over the paperwork, and I forget where he told the story. I never saw a contract. The way it happened with me was they approached me and said, we want to form this production company. We want to have you, Kanye West, Buck Wild actually.
Shout to Buck Wild who's here.
Buck, K-Rob from the old K-Rob and Ramel Z days, and one other person who I can't remember right now. And we want to, manage you and blah, 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 and whatever. And I'm like, well, I already have a manager. My longtime partner, Nasa was managing the business affairs at the time. So, but I'm like, I'm not opposed to working something out and come by the crib. So, long story short, G and Hop came by the crib, we had a great conversation, and basically the way we decided to do it was, well, they could kind of be like agents for me. And I would retain my own management, and I would be a self-contained entity. And we always maintained that from the beginning. We want autonomy to do whatever we want. Now see, it's the best of both worlds, because you have the autonomy to do whatever you want, but you're working with arguably the best crew in hip hop at that time. So you don't really,
it's like a cheat code almost.
Right. You don't really need to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you want to step
You
out,
can.
Right.
Now, was that for everyone else, or was that kind of your situation that you
That was my
negotiated?
situation. That's what I'm saying. That's why I brought the no ID thing, because he talked about paperwork and stuff. I never saw any.
Yours was more
So yours was
organic.
different.
Yeah, mine was just like, this is what we're gonna do. We kind of dictated our own terms, but they believed enough in what I would bring to the table that it wasn't even a question. Like, they never owned a piece of me.
Right.
And the way we structured it was, let's just kind of go and see what happens. So I kind of helped, I guess really you could say kind of like co-executive produced the Emil album, uncredited, just kind of, I engineered the whole thing.
Right.
And I kind of learned about engineering as I was doing that. I already knew, had a bit of a foundation, but was, I sharpened it and was helping her touch up records and whatnot, outside the records that I produced for her. Then, at the same time I was working with Beans and Bleak, Jay wasn't paying me any mind at the time. But as he started to notice the things that I was doing everybody else is when he finally, was like, yo, bring just the baseline.
Right.
But the key thing with that was we knew that once we got in with Jay, things would probably change.
Yep.
And we could probably start knocking things out the park real quick. It was just a matter of finding that one thing to snag him.
Right.
So once that happened, and once, me and him went in and we did a bunch of the stuff in the Dynasty album, we said, okay, let's do this in terms of the business structure. Because Jay's taking a liking to me. Obviously, I'm in a great space, all of a sudden. So I said, all right, I'm not gonna do a contract or anything like that. Just pay me X amount of money for X amount of beats up front. I've shown you that I can deliver.
Right.
So I want to say we did a deal for 25 beats up front at like 20 or 30,000 each, something like that.
Big bag.
Got the first half up front, and then now I owe them 25 beats.
Right.
But you have 8 artists working at once.
They're gonna get used.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
They're gonna recoup. They're gonna
Right.
recoup that.
And technically, the only thing was, their only caveat was, we want first right of refusal. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, like
Right.
first dibs.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
When you're gonna get it.
Yeah, you are regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was either him or who else at that time. Like
At the time, I mean, I had a very good working relationship with Busta.
the boss, yeah, boss.
Pun had just passed. Fab was just starting to pop.
Yep.
I can't remember who else. There was so much happening at that. You know what it was at that time? What was interesting was when I worked on the Dynasty album, I didn't have one single, but I was all of a sudden this kid who seemingly came out of nowhere and did like half of the new Jay-Z album.
Right.
So people were calling me regardless, even if I didn't have a single. So next thing I know, I'm in a room with Janet Jackson and Beanie Man and
Crazy.
I can't even, it was just off the buzz of who's the new kid, who's the new kid, who's the new kid.
Right.
And that just goes to show, like, if you do good work, it doesn't matter if you have the #1 record on the charts, whatever. If you have a solid body of work, or if you contributed heavily to a solid body of work, people are gonna come calling.
People are gonna come calling.
Yeah, so.
And then eventually you get those singles.
Exactly.
Over time.
So by the time we went back in again, and it was the blueprint and everything else,
Yeah.
then it was a whole different.
So how many years at that point in time did it take for you to get that first big single? Like, what would you consider your first like big single?
I got kind of lucky. My first beat I ever sold was sold 500,000 copies.
Right.
It wasn't a great record. It was Mace when they were shooting each other out of cannons.
Oh.
I really liked it.
What year? When was that? That was
98, I think.
Oh wow.
But
shit.
But yeah, when Jay said you thought they were shooting your fat ass out of cannons before.
Oh shit.
I forget who was going at. Oh, Vito, yeah.
Yeah.
Which was interesting because Mino was part of the first crew that I ever really attached myself with.
Right.
And that happened a few times over the years. Like I would go from Jay-Z sessions to Prodigy sessions.
Wow.
Like right before Takeover was happening. Like.
Wow.
And I would be like, and then when the Rockefeller and Rough Riders beef happened, like the first time that I think that if I'm not mistaken, the first time that they all collectively went at Rockefeller was on my beat.
Wow.
It was Jada's "It's Time I See You."
What was going through your mind in that process?
I don't know. I'm like,
Being in the middle of it.
the thing is, normally, like at that time, at that time, I was always present for vocaling. In a lot of my sessions. The Rough Riders thing was a posse record, so I gave them the beat, and that was pretty much that. By the time I heard the record, it was at the mix session. So I'm listening to the record while we're mixing it, and I'm like, oh shit.
It's crazy.
Oh shit.
Oh fuck.
Wow.
What did I do?
Luckily, that one kind of went under the radar, under the radar, because that was before the beef really popped off.
Right.
But this was like when I think there were shots on like Hot 97 freestyles and whatnot.
But you never could have predicted that to happen.
No,
at all.
And the thing, and there was no blowback from it.
No.
Like nobody. Ultimately, it's business, and I don't even think that they were thinking, "Oh,
looking at you."
Yeah, I don't think on either side. I don't think that Rough Riders and Jada and them was like, "Oh, we're gonna get their producer to produce the beat that we're gonna diss them on." It just kind of happened.
It was
that way.
organic.
It was really because of me, because the beat had a sample that I put in there called "It's Time I See You." So I think they just heard that and were like, "Oh, this is the one." It's not even. Nobody was even thinking that far ahead to go down to the producer.
Right. So here's an interesting thought. Like, when you think about the upcoming producer today, right? 2018 going to 2019. Obviously, it's very different than it was in your era.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the underlying kind of concepts and foundations are still the same. Like, networking on a basic level. But then also, a big topic of discussion, especially on our podcast, is, having faith in yourself and kind of allowing for the universe to uncover these blessings for you, because you've been winning for a long time, right? But let's talk a little bit about before the winning. Like, what was life like then? Like, what kept you going? What were those signs that you had, and did you have faith that you would eventually make it, or did you not think about it and say, "Fuck it, I just want to make beats all day"?
What's the best way to put this? I've lived a charmed life. I've never, even when I had jobs, I never really worked a day in my life.
What does that mean?
My first job ever was a camp counselor, summer camp counselor.
That's tight.
I had kids calling me Mr. Justin when I was 14.
Right.
Did you wear like the hat and shit?
No. It wasn't like a Cub Scout. Okay.
It's like summer camp.
It was like
It's a camp.
Yeah, exactly. It's like another
Street clothes, regular.
Right.
Actually, that summer, that was '89. That's when Batman. If you don't know if you remember, you might remember when everybody was wearing Batman shirts and they had like the Batman medallions. Remember that? That was that summer. I had a Batman shirt for every day of the summer.
Crazy.
My mom's knew the lady that had the bootleg T-shirt connection, so I had a Batman shirt for every day that summer. But yeah, like that. But point was, that was a job I wanted.
Right.
Like I wanted to do that. After that, my next job, I worked at Aeropostale, which at the time, if you were a teenager in
That
like
was it.
93,
That was it.
94,
You got the gig.
Huge deal.
feeling mad hostile wearing Aeropostale. Oh shit! Like fuck. That was a status symbol.
So
I used to go to
you've done everything that
that I've always wanted to do. I went to school wearing my Aeropostale name tag.
Okay.
Hold on. Keep going.
That's
Fast forward. After that, my next job was DJing at a roller skating rink.
Fun.
You know what I mean? Like I was making money on the weekends doing something that I love.
Right.
Moving from there, internship at the cutting room. Again, which led to a full-time job within a month.
So you never really did anything you didn't want to do.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
I was fortunate in that regard. And this was also at a time, by the time I started making records for people, that there were real budgets.
Right.
And I feel like one of the main differences now is those budgets are nowhere near the same. And it kind of forces producers to have to sell part of their soul much earlier than they should. By that I mean like where it used to be to chase the check to make the beat, now it's chasing the publishing deal check.
Right.
Exactly.
And you know, a lot of these dudes are doing records for next to nothing in the hopes of getting their payday from a publishing deal. And that's unfortunate because it puts a lot of these guys in a position where they don't have the catalogs to come in and say, I want 3, 4, 5 million.
Right.
They're doing it for 100,000.
Yeah.
200,000.
And they don't know that you get that in pieces.
Right, yeah, like it's not up front.
It's not
you
up
know.
front.
It's maybe half up front, maybe. You know what I mean? And the terms are just very unfavorable. And the publishing companies can do that because they're where the cash is now.
They have the leverage.
Yeah, like I almost got caught up in that because in that same era where I first started to come to prominence, I had companies like Warner Chappell, Universal, pretty much all the major publishers coming to me with deals for $1.5 million, $2 million.
Right.
And I'm sitting there like, woo!
That's a lot.
Like I came from making $50 a night at the roller skating rink.
Yeah.
But and that's real. Like, that's what I used to make. I used to make $50 at the end of the night, and I was happy.
Yeah.
I was making money doing what I love. But
See, that's a really important component to touch on. Like
Right.
you felt happy for about being paid $50.
Right.
Because you had fun.
I had fun and I was doing something that I love.
Yeah, right. But because you decided to do things you love at an early age,
it worked.
That was the seed that you planted in your brain to get you to where you are now. And I think it's very difficult for people to give that credit and understand that.
Right.
You know?
And also on top of that, I had a family that supported me doing that.
That's big too.
Like I had my mom, and I tell the story all the time, some of you may have heard it, like one of my first, in my mind, big things that I ever DJ'd, which was basically just a backyard party at somebody's house. The speakers went out, my mom's brought speakers, they wouldn't, the cables didn't reach to the DJ booth. She sat under the table for the last hour of the party and held the cables together.
Wow.
While I finished DJing.
That's amazing.
That's fire.
You know, like would take me to the club to DJ where I was already underage, come back, pick me up at 2 o'clock in the morning, or wait in the parking lot, you know, and take me back home, and we'd have to get up and go to school. Like my family overall was very supportive of that. So,
clap it up one time for that, man. That's amazing.
What made your family be so supportive? Because I think, you know, for a lot of people, it takes them a lot of time, a lot of experiences to get to the point where their family's finally like, all right, you serious about this?
you know what it was? From the time I was little, I was a tinkerer, right? Like I was writing computer programs when I was in 4th grade. My father was a jazz organist, so he always had keyboards and stuff laying around the house. So when they saw me sitting there programming his Casios and hooking them up to things that they didn't understand, and I'm like, Mom, this is a DJ mixer. You plug the turntable into here, then you plug the keyboard into here, and she's like, I don't know what.
But it's working.
But it's doing something. You're doing what you love. You're happy. You're not in trouble. You know, you're not. My mom was a teacher, so she's seen the smartest of the smart kids, the dumbest of the dumb kids, and the worst of the worst.
Yep.
And she raised us with enough sense. Like my mom's never had to give us the talk or any of the talks.
Right.
She didn't have to give us the drug talk, sex talk, whatever, because she just raised us with common sense and good hearts. So, as long as her kids were good and they were using their talents, she was all right.
That's important to know too. That's amazing. That's amazing.
So starting from then, I always felt like I could do what I love and be okay. And if you look at a lot of success stories, people who are beyond way more successful than me, they did what they love. They stuck
with it, and they knew they were going to be okay. I think that's what sets successful people apart from people who are struggling. Is I really believe that, and I could be wrong, but I believe that people who struggle to find success, they're sort of blocking themselves because they're not putting faith into themselves.
Well, a lot of people put a time limit on themselves too.
That too.
Think about it, like when, just an example that I use a lot, when Exhibit C, people are, before I even get into that, the average rapper comes out, for the most part, 18, 19, 20, Nas, Illmind wrote it when he was 17, came out when he was 18. A lot of the younger artists today, that are succeeding in different ways, through different methods, rather, whether it's them going viral and getting record deals, whatever, they're 16, 17, 18 years Reasonable Doubt, Jay was 26, technically kind of old for technically a major debut. Speaking from my personal experience, Jay Electronica was what, 36 when we did Exhibit C? Wow. 30, no, maybe 35?
They're mid-30s.
Yeah, he was in his mid-30s. You know, like your first time out on that level and you're on radio for the first time at, not on a mix show, but at 3 p.m. You know, it was in his mid-30s.
Wow.
You know, and you can't put a clock on it.
Yeah.
Going back to, and then we can move on to whatever else you want to move on to, but going back to when I was working at the cutting room in that era, at a certain point it wasn't working, you know, or I felt like it wasn't. And I did 3 years at Rutgers for computer science, for programming. I was about to go back.
Is it C++ or?
C++,
Pascal?
It would say Pascal, a little bit of machine language.
Did you do Cisco at all? Like
No.
routing?
No, that was kind of before, I was like right after my era. And I was thinking, all right, I should probably just go back. Matter of fact, let me just go look into my credits and, you know, see what I have left, what I have to do over. Just, you know, going through the motions of considering re-enrolling in school and finishing my last year. That next week is when I had that chance meeting with Mace that led to me doing those sessions with them.
Damn.
Had I had those feelings maybe a month before and started the process of re-enrolling a month before,
Never would have met Mace.
and I would not be sitting here.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
And
But Jay-Z may, Jay may have not had the successful career that he has.
If he didn't meet you.
If he didn't meet you, because
Right.
that
Yeah, I mean,
music wouldn't, maybe
That's
not though.
that's where it gets interesting. This
Yeah,
is another thing I
very
was going to
interesting.
mention. We were talking about trusting the process. I hate to use that phrase because it's like cliche now, but there's so many major records that I've done, records that have been super successful, whether successful on a cultural level or on a commercial level, that were not intended to go to who they ended up going to.
Right.
You know, like going back to my earliest stage, I made Rock the Mic to learn how to use the ASR-X. I didn't make it for Freeway.
Right.
But when he came to me and approached me and said, can we do a record together? I redid that same beat on the MPC, gave it to him. Record was done the next day. We put it out 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Pump It Up was not intended for Joe Budden. That was a last minute salvage move.
Wow.
Because we were in a session together and I was coming up with garbage. And I remembered that I had this beat laying around that Beans and Free, I wanted Pump It Up to be Rock the Mic Part 2, like the follow-up.
Right.
And Freeway was with it because Freeway would rap to anything that I would give him at that time.
Right.
Beans was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Hov heard it, was like his exact words verbatim. He swears he didn't say this, but I was there. Yo, that's dope. I'm gonna go do this Pharrell record real quick. I'll be back.
Oh,
and he was
man.
doing
That's
was doing the Pharrell records for Blueprint too.
That's funny.
Oh Boy was meant for Memphis Bleak initially.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's a whole list of those.
There's a list.
So I'm a firm believer in music finds its way to where it's supposed to be, for one.
Right.
And for two, you kind of just have to trust that things are going to be okay.
Say that one more time, Jess. Trust that.
Music will end up where it needs to be.
And things will be okay.
And things will be okay. Man,
That's important.
You know, it really
That's
is.
fucking crucial.
Like, for real, where's Rance at?
Rance 1500?
Yes. Yeah. So, like, Rance was a big part of Show Me What You Got. I did that beat years before and hated it. I always had this idea of like having somebody spit on this up tempo. Like remember like when the average rap tempo was like 110.
Yep.
Right.
Like the Kane era, the Rakim era. I always had the idea of trying to do something like that on a modern level. I made the beat and nobody really understood it. And it wasn't as good as it ended up being when I did it over.
Right.
But when I was sitting in the room one day with Rance, I'm like, yo, I have this old idea. This old idea that I want to do over. And we put that together in like, what was it, one session pretty much? We did that and Why You Hate the Game, I think, in the same day.
That's crazy. And that was that was all the footage with like tracking the drums and stuff, right?
Yep, exactly.
That was at the 1500 spot.
No, that was at
Or was that somewhere else?
Westlake. At Westlake.
Rance, when did you guys build the 1500? I want to call it a warehouse.
The compound.
The 100,000 square foot mansion that I haven't been to yet. I gotta come through.
We still build it. It's like a year old.
It's only a year?
It's like
Why was I thinking it was longer?
Nah, because they had the other one. They had the other compound.
Oh,
other compound.
see the things you can do when you're not in New York.
Right. No, see, that's the thing. That's why I don't go to LA much, because I knew if I do, whatever I do, I go see Rance, Mars, and them, and I get mad at myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna blow it up, but when he told me what the first compound cost them per month in operating costs, and I was paying double that for something like 1/10 of the size.
Yeah.
Like Baseline was a decent size, but it's not like what they got.
Yeah, it's not.
And I was paying like, Baseline was a good deal at first because at the time, 26 and 6 wasn't considered was a C-class property. So, real talk, Baseline's rent at the time was $4,500 a month when it was first built, which was nothing.
Wow.
You paid for that in 2 sessions.
Yeah.
By the time I was leaving, because I was on good faith with them, because we never missed a rent payment ever. We had been there for over 10 years. We didn't renew the lease, but had I renewed, it would have started at like $18,000 a month. And remember, in New York legally, they can go up 12% every year.
Yep.
You have to do a 10-year lease for commercial real estate spaces.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's out of control.
Yeah. So every time I go to LA, I be mad at myself.
Yeah. They can get busy out there. That's crazy.
I think one of the things that have been, and correct me if I'm wrong, instrumental in your career is your confidence. And I think that's really important to have as a creative, is your confidence. Because there's been a lot of production that you've created that you say you didn't really like, but it ended up being something.
Right.
And also, I know there's been a lot of times where you've been experimenting with like new sounds or new gear, and you ended up making a beat that ended up actually being like a hit.
Right.
And you weren't really thinking it would be, but you had the confidence in your work to know that either that was going to be something or your music in general.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because people will always be like, yo, when you're in those situations, you just exude such confidence. And I'm like, nah, bro, I'm like a deer in the headlights 99% of the time.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is you end up, over the years, knowing how to disguise that or use that, like take the whatever from that, and it ends up being displayed as confidence.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm better with it now, but for a very long time, my thought process always used to be like, this could be over tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you see it all the time. You get a producer who's hot for 6 months, and then you never hear from them again. So I kind of always have had that in the back of my mind, which I think is kind of, I don't operate from a standpoint of fear. I operate from a standpoint of awareness. However, at a certain point, I realized, like, all right, I am kind of good at what I do.
Just a little bit.
A little. Like, but here's the thing, you know what's funny? Like, at Baseline was very much a tough love kind of situation.
Yeah.
Like, if they talk shit about you, it was kind of like, how can I put this? It was that way of like, you were the shit.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like, like they like to clown each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they weren't really clowning you, you were probably doing something
You had to
wrong.
worry.
You had to get clowned.
If they're not talking about you, you got to be worried.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So, but it took me a while to realize that.
Right.
So like when Jay was,
You just thought that they didn't like you at first? Like,
no, I'm just not used to that.
Not used to it, right.
You were probably not trying to be talked about, but
Right.
in reality,
I mean, no one really does, right? Like, you don't want.
Nobody wants to, like. And here's the thing, like Jay would just walk in and be like, "You ain't shit, man. It's just gonna be over. It's just gonna be over for you in 3 months."
Right.
But that was his way of trying to motivate you. But at the time, I'm like, was he for real?
low key, he's a fan of yours.
Right, well, no, like, there's also times where I've watched Jay call other producers, like, of note, and be like, yo, Just Blaze is the best producer ever. Sorry, you're not making the album. Click. But that was also his way of motivating them, like, you better come through with some beats. Like, that's how he used to operate.
Right.
But it took me a minute to get that. But you know, like for me, you do have to be confident in yourself, but you also have to be honest with yourself.
Yep. Right.
The honesty that I've always had the honesty with myself. And I think a lot of that comes from, aside from the way that I was raised, was a lot of people always ask me, how do you get your records to sound the way they do? The drums cut through, you know, this things sit a certain way. It's really because I sat there for so many years as a kid with my 4-track cassette, my Tascam, trying to figure out why my records didn't sound like the records on the radio. Because as far as I knew, everybody was making their records on cassettes. I didn't know anything about studios. I was 10. But I used to sit there like, that don't sound like Marley Marl.
On the tape.
We were just talking about like being 9 and 10 years old doing shit like this, right?
Yeah, like
it's crazy.
I mean, like I used to do, you know, pause tapes just like everybody else, you know, from that era. You know, get a double cassette deck, do a loop, overdub onto that, or add drums onto that. Eventually, my mom's got me something that could sample with a little Casio SK5. Actually, I jacked that from my best friend's sister. She had that SK5 for like 2 days after Christmas. And that was it lived in my house after that. It's still sitting in my house actually.
Right.
But yeah, like, you know, I think a lot of that was me sitting there trying to get my records to sound like they could come after the record I heard on the radio.
Right.
So after they played the new Kane record or the new Rakim record or the new Wu-Tang record or whatever it was, I would play my song and be like, my song, I'm not even talking about the production quality, but like mix-wise.
Right.
My song don't sound as good as theirs. So I would have to keep going, and that's how I learned the basics of EQing and compression.
See, when you're functioning like that, as how old are you? 9?
Like 9, 10 years old.
Yeah, when you're 9 years old functioning like that, like you're just I don't know. I feel like, do you sometimes feel like you're a big kid in this? I feel that way too.
You know, like, you know, it's, but you know what?
Because you're still the same person that you were at 9 years old.
That's the thing. A lot of us, all of us, I think, in one way or another, artists. By the time you're 12, you kind of are who you are.
That's low key facts right there.
Like, think about it. Like, by the time you're 15, you've discovered all your favorite albums already.
Right.
That's the same thing you're gonna be listening to when you're 40. You're gonna go back to listen to what you listened to in high school.
Right.
You know, I feel like some of us lose that spirit. When you lose that spirit of connection to who you are formatively, that's when things can kind of go left.
Yeah.
Like, you come to my crib, I got a lot of fly shit, but then I also got like a giant painting of Transformers that I had commissioned on my wall. You know what I mean? Like, and spent some good money, but in time, you're designing it with the artist. Shout out to TTK. But you know, that's like, you know, there was that phase that everybody was like, oh, Just a super nerd sitting in his house playing with action figures.
Yeah. Right.
Like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, you think I had the time to sit there and be like, pew, 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 yeah, Optimus Prime is killing Megatron. Nah. But do I have a wall of them shits up at the crib? Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of just a nice, like, you know, moms couldn't afford that when I was 15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or when I was 10, rather, maybe.
Right.
Or so.
And I just think it's cool.
Right. Like,
cool.
when I went and got my first 2 checks, that was the dope thing about that era. They used to bring the checks to the session.
Right.
Like, and then I had a check cashing place right around the corner. I didn't have a bank account for like the first year.
That's
right
great.
to the check cashing place.
That's great.
But at that time, like in the village, like anything and everything that was collectible, you could buy at that time. And you're in the village, so the shopping is crazy. So I would go like to the video game spot. That's really where the whole video game thing came from.
Yeah.
A friend of mine owned a video game spot, and I walked into the store one day with $5,000 in my pocket and said, "Give me one of everything."
Damn.
Then I went to Transit on Broadway, the sneaker spot. I need these in a 10.5. Which ones? All of them.
So this was what Jay was making fun of you about.
Exactly, because MTV did a story on it.
Yeah.
And then I had said, this is the last time I'm ever telling the story. Long story short,
One more.
I had said in the piece, I said, this was supposed to be B-roll. Like, I was joking when I was doing my intro. I said, yeah, Some people say I buy video games, or I make beats to support buying video games. Because it was a piece about video games. It was a joke. And I said to the camera, don't use that. And that was the opening lead that they were.
That's funny.
And Jay happens to see that, and he's wondering where I'm at in the studio, and he sees that at the same time. He's like, he's buying video games. I'm trying to get him to come to the studio.
Here's the thing. Raise your hand if you actually saw that, what we're talking about. Raise your hand if you saw that, right? Raise your hand if you thought that was cool. Like, oh shit, he just plays is cool for liking video games. See, I feel like it was a positive thing.
No, and here's the thing.
It was like, oh shit, I can be that too. He's a normal guy.
Right,
you know what I mean?
That was the thing. For me personally, it bothered me more so just because it wasn't what actually.
It wasn't the truth.
Exactly.
Right.
But anybody who knows me knows you come to my crib, like, you know, it's
That's real life.
You know, like, but it's part of what, you know, it's part of what we do. Like, we used to sit there in baseline, like after the session was over, me and Todd would sit there and play virtual tennis for like 2 hours. And he would always find a way to pause to get in my head and beat me every time.
Wow.
And it drove me nuts. But yeah, like, you know, but here's the thing is, what kid that grew up in the 80s didn't love or appreciate that stuff?
Yeah,
you know?
true.
I think the difference with me is, I think because I hate to use that term, but I can't think of another term, like a charmed life.
Right.
Where like I've kind of been able to not skate through, because there's definitely been downs. There's
For sure.
many ups, there's been downs as well. But I've been able to just maintain touch with the things that I love, that made me who I am. And that go even beyond all the 80s stuff. That's just DJing, which is where it all started for me. Digging for records, sitting there and analyzing a record over and over and trying to figure out, you know, how the engineer got the sound that way. How did the drummer get that technique? Like, I was doing an interview a couple of weeks ago, and I never really thought about it this way. But as I was talking about my childhood, I realized what it was. Whereas most kids were happy watching the cartoon, I was trying to figure out how somebody drew all those frames.
Right. Your brain functioned that way.
Right.
There's two,
Like, I would watch Star Wars with my dad.
Figuring out.
But then I'm trying to figure out, how do they actually make the ships look like they're flying when we know that they're not really flying?
Yeah.
You know, my approach with music was the same thing. I would listen to music and be like, how is that happening?
Raise your hand if you look at life like that too. And it's okay if you don't.
But the funny thing is, I noticed as I got older and as I got over the anger, or not anger, but just the frustration of the way that scene was portrayed, the more I realized that so many producers are the same way and have a lot of the same interests.
Yeah.
You know, I had so many dudes that were like, yo, what's your gamer tag? And I'm like, I don't have one. But I'm gonna go make one now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like, you know, they would sit there and talk to me about sneakers all day, talk about polo all day, or just like random fashion nerd things, or computer nerd things, or just collectible nerd things. And like, I remember sitting down with Pharrell one day, and he's telling me about these things he has in his house, and I'm like, we're not really that different.
Yeah.
And then I start to realize that, like I said, when I meet up and coming producers who tell me their stories and how they came up, I feel like there's something in the way our brains are wired that causes us to, we don't gravitate towards those things because we all grew up with those things. It's just some of us deviated and some of us did.
Right, exactly. And I think a big part of this whole thing too, because in saying that, I see a lot of similarities with like the way my brain works and stuff. I mean, that's my brother right there. He's my older brother.
Oh, what up? All right.
And
video games and all that.
check 1 2. I think you know the part about the part check. Pause.
He got the Jill Scott. He got the Jill Scott going.
Jill Scott. Don't make me do that, bro.
1 2.
Pause.
Mike likes me. Pause.
Y'all motherfuckers ain't never seen a Just Blaze interview like this before. My older brother Les could attest this, but like I was the curious kid who like I would have Sega Genesis and shit, and I would go to like the menu options and listen to all the sound effects and like try to make beats out of the sound effects and shit.
Yo, there we go.
Yeah.
Yo,
so it's the same thing.
Yo, Space Harrier 2, Golden Axe. Golden Axe, Outrun, all of those. I used to like literally just go to the options, go to the sound test, and listen to them over and over and over. Which is funny because, you know, as an adult now, I get so many people who were kids or teenagers when NBA Street 2 came out.
Yep.
And they'll be like, yo, I used to put the disc in and just listen to the music over and over. Or like, I go on YouTube and like the beats that I did have like hundreds of thousands of views. And people all tell the same story. I used to just listen to, I used to play this game, I used to put the game in and not play it. Just so I can listen.
Just so you can listen
to the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. Like I was kind of able to give that back to another generation.
I think all of that has, like, you continuing to do things that you liked and were fun allowed
That's a
you
big
to
part.
always do things that were fun.
You
know what I mean?
Yeah, no, there's two things to it. One is I've always done things that I love and that I enjoy. The second thing is always doing good business. Because and this is a more serious thing. Like, there are times when you're gonna have 6 records on the radio. There's gonna be times where you have the 2 or 3 of the biggest street anthems at once. There's gonna be times where you have a record that sells 10 million. There's gonna be times where you have nothing going on. Those times when you have nothing going on in terms of that commercial visibility, how you get through those times, in my experience, is mostly determined by how good and how pleasant your business is. You know, like those down times. I'll give you a perfect example. I did remember they redid the 18? They did a movie, the 18, like 2010.
Yeah, like 2010 or something.
2009. So they needed a flip of the theme for the movie. They didn't really have a lot of money. They'd already spent all the money on the movie. Marketing budget was done. They had $10,000. They came to me, they were like, listen, we know it's not a lot. We'd love to have you do the new interpretation of the 18 theme. I said, all right, fine, no problem. I do it. They had a very pleasurable experience with it. You know, I made it super easy. There was no egos involved. We got it done, knocked it out. Client, Fox, was super happy. Never heard from them. 3 years later, or never heard back from them after that. They didn't need to. They didn't need to reach out to me. 3 years later, I get a call out of nowhere. I don't know if you remember me. My name is Martin. I work for Fox. Well, of course I remember you. What's going on? He's like, so I'm sitting in a meeting discussing a new movie that we're working on, and our VP of whatever was like, yo, who's the guy that did the A-Team? We need him. You know, like, it was dope, but then he was just super easy to work with. He knocked it out in 2 days. It was
He's a
amazing.
good guy, yeah.
Right, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, so are you familiar with the movie called Ice Age? And I'm like, oh, yeah? You know, like, I've seen 2 of them. So he's like, yes, we're working on the 4th one right now. We need music for this scene, and we have a real budget this time. What's up?
You're like, I'm there.
Quick question: was he an older person, an older guy?
Martin was probably like a generation up from me. So like at the time, Martin's probably 10 years older than me, maybe. Now the VP that actually asked for me, I don't know how old he was.
Right.
But the guy who I dealt with on the 18, which would then make the connect for.
That's amazing. The reason why that's
he's definitely much older than us.
Yeah. The reason why that's such a gem is because when you get to that point where you're much older and you're a button pusher, like if you're an executive, the last thing you want to do is deal with someone who's hard to deal with.
Right.
So you'll give and not saying you're mediocre, obviously you're not, but you'll give the person who isn't the best at the thing, you'll give that person the opportunity over the super talented, annoying, hard to deal with person.
Right.
You know?
When I was younger, some of the people that I used to work with, there would be times where like they would be people that used to work, with me or in conjunction with me, would sometimes be overly aggressive on terms and certain things. And one of my things is always like, yo, be easy, because if we continue along that path, they're only gonna work with us as long as they have to.
Right.
Labels are only gonna work with you or call you as long as they have to. When they don't have to call you because there's 5 other new hot dudes, your phone goes cold. You know, so I always tried to make sure that we maintained good relationships, pleasant relationships, and did good, fair business. You know, I was never a sucker and didn't go for what I deserved. But I didn't do the thing of like, I'm the hottest thing in the world right now, so I need X, Y, and Z.
That's one of the biggest things in this. I think anywhere, anything in life is just, you know, being good with people and building relationships. But in the music industry, you see that a lot. A lot of, you know, people say it all the time, is sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's true. You know, I think
that's
it's
true in any
both.
business.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's both. You have to have the work, but you also have to have the relationships
Right.
to
The
help
thing is that
yourself.
the music business is so small in terms of the key decision makers.
Yep.
You know, the number of labels is shrinking every day, or has been shrinking for years, you know, as things get more and more consolidated. And I mean, I could look around this room and probably name at least 25% of the people in here. You know what I mean? That just shows you how small the community is.
Yeah.
Everybody has stories about everybody. Everybody knows something about somebody. You know, and it doesn't take word for that long. Well, it doesn't take that long for that word.
Yeah,
to spread.
It's really small. I remember when I was coming up, and the first, you know, I came up a generation under you, so I really was studying you, like, you know, and Dilla and Pete Rock and Primo and stuff. And you, I mean, obviously we both studied them too, but you know, I just remember over the years, like, getting to know you and running into you, like, you know, like late, you know, 2007, 2008. When Little Brother was happening, and then Sky Zoo, and then fucking, and then, you know, 2013, fucking
Amsterdam. You were in Amsterdam, and you were DJing.
Oh yeah, no, that wasn't in Amsterdam. That was Vancouver. Or something,
Vancouver.
somewhere else.
Yeah,
and then a slaughterhouse. You know, all that in 2013, and now fast forward 2018, it's like, it's crazy. Like, me and Just have like built a thing over a long time, and I'm just really humbled to know you, but also to get to that point where I can hit you like a week before and be like, hey, can you be on my podcast? Like, and for you to pull up and shit, like, means a lot, you know what I mean? But this is like 10 plus years in the making, so I appreciate you,
On
man.
39 hours, no, I think now we're at 42 hours of no sleep.
No sleep, yeah.
Bruh, don't have.
You did the same shit when we were in Toronto, though.
Yes,
you were like
I did.
24 hours. You're crazy.
But you know what? It's like, so the night before, I slept good. I slept for like 10 hours straight. The first time I slept that long, God knows how long.
Right.
Got up at 8:30 the next morning, and I felt like Nas in the beginning of Life's a Bitch. Woke up early. It wasn't my born day, but I'm up at 8:30 with energy. Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
So I'm like running around the house with the baby. You know, I hooked up his other. That's when I hooked up the 808 for him. Like, let me get the power for your 808. Yeah. Well, my 13-year-old programs an 808, which is insane. I can't even program 808.
Insane.
So running around the house all day, just getting stuff done. Decided to listen to some records, heard a couple things. So let's make some beats. Like, it was a full-on day.
Crazy.
But then the beats started coming out so good. I'm like, let me keep going. So then I said, let me take a break. I'll play a little Call of Duty. I jumped on Black Ops. One of my friends sent me an invite. I said, all right, let me go jump, kill some people.
Kill them.
But I'm playing the beat in the background the whole time. Like, I'm just, a lot of times I step away, just listen to it over and over. And then I went back to it. I kept doing that. Next thing I know, it's 4 in the morning. So I said, all right, my rule is as long as I'm asleep by the sunrise, I'm okay. But the kid, his motors are coming in now.
Oh.
So he's on some rampage. Like,
shit.
Yeah, exactly. So
no sleep gang.
So I get sneak into bed around 5, and he's like, yeah. That's in the back of the head. And I'm like, all right, I see where this is going. So, you know, I try to let my wife sleep a little bit, like, because she holds so much down during the day. So it's like, you know, and luckily she works from home, but she still works. So let me just take them. So next thing I know, it's 10 a.m. And then the guys are there to redo my bathroom that they just ripped apart because of a leak that they did. So it's their fault. There's like, I came home and it was raining in my living room. I came home from vacation, my living room was raining.
Oh, that's bad.
So they're fixing that. So, I can go sleep in the basement.
Yeah.
Nah.
Nope.
Because of that leak, they had to redo a bunch of the pipe stuff. So now the painters are in the basement repainting the pipes. Or repainting the walls because they had to break down the walls to take the pipes. So I'm like, all right, let's go back to the beach. 40-something hours later, here I am.
Wow.
Because then the day goes. Because what happened was, I said, all right, I'm gonna sleep in the afternoon. No, because I forgot I had conference calls scheduled all day. Then I agreed to do a meeting at 6 o'clock for a new artist that I'm working with. And then I agreed to do this. So that was, I guess I'm just not sleeping.
Up tonight, or?
I might as well go back to the pizza. I don't know.
Might as well.
Is there an after party?
You might as well. I wish, no, there's no after party. Let's give one round of applause for Just Blaze. I have a quick gift.
I like gifts.
I have a gift for Just.
Is that a...
This is a pizza box. No, this is...
That's the $700
Check, 1, 2.
pizza box?
This is
1 of 10. Let me use that.
Give me your one.
Check 1, 2. I usually hook Just with like drum kits and stuff. I don't, you probably don't know this, but I put...
Flash drive, a giant box.
Yeah. But there's some other shit in here too that no one has, actually. So I got... Here's the box. I got you a little sweater, crew neck. Right, so you can check that out with the little Blap Kit Volume 11 cover. It's probably too big for you, but that's okay.
Is this an XL?
It is.
Give me an L.
Okay, I got you an L. That's a little exclusive little notebook.
Blap notebook.
Blap notebook. There's only 10 of those in the world. And then just a little custom message. Just Blaze, thank you for being a true GOAT. For Just Blaze. So yeah, this box is super limited. So yeah, that's for you, brother.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Clap it up for Just Blaze one time. Yeah. Man, shout to you guys for coming through. We gotta let Just get some sleep, but we have a hard deadline here, so we have to pack all our shit. So let's give yourselves a round of applause one more time for joining us. Our first ever live BlapChat podcast. What episode is this, Josh?
He's still on that.
80 something. We're 80 something episodes deep. Listen, we appreciate you guys so much. We didn't get to do Blapper Crap tonight, but obviously this is where we like critique beats and shit. Yeah, but we gotta get out here. But we're gonna do this again. So that's what I'm saying. But we gotta get out of here. So you guys get home safe.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you guys so much. But we really have to get the fuck out. So
Thank you so
we out of here, BlapChat.
Also, just want to give a shout out to 38 Parlor for allowing us to do this.
Shout to 38 Parlor, sure. Oh my God, of course.
Thank you.
The speakers gone crack, and everything is blap. Everything is blap. Everything is blap.